Welcome to the Late Night with Chalky podcast. I'm Jay Late Night Larson.
And I'm Lyndon Chalky Cabellion. In each episode, we will be talking to different surfers and surf shops to learn more about them and their passion for surfing. We will be diving deep into their experiences as well as their involvement and contributions to their local communities.
Be sure to check out our website and Instagram feed for updates on future shows. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to sharing these great stories with you.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Yes, we got sponsors.
First up,
FuWax.
the best wax in the game.
This stuff is so sticky and grippy, you'll never slip off your stick again.
Ever.
Again.
So go to your local surf shop.
And make sure they carry it, and if they don't,
Demand it.
demand it. You'll be stoked. Try it out. Our next sponsor, Bonsai Bowls.
Oh.
I know a lot of our listeners have had one of these, and if they haven't, they're going to now.
They're missing out.
They're missing out.
It's a healthy, delicious,
Amazing, fresh acai bowl with tons of fruit and organic ingredients.
they've got 5 locations in Southern California,
From Huntington to San Clemente and all in between.
2 in Hawaii.
2 in Hawaii for those on the North Shore. And, come support these guys. They have amazing acai bowls, and they support the West Coast board riders and a lot of the surf events up and down the coast.
And they've made it a lot easier to get them. They've got their own app now.
That's right. Go to your app store and download Bonsai Bowl app, and you could pre-order, prepay, and just go pick up. Cut through the line.
And for our listeners of the Late Night with Chalky podcast,
You're going to get 15% off your next bowl.
a 15% discount off
Yes.
Bonsai Bowls.
That's insane.
So make sure to mention the Late Night with Chalky podcast, and you get 15% off
That's
at
right.
Bonsai Bowls.
And one of our other favorite restaurants,
Oh! Caliente OC.
Caliente Southwest.
.com.
They offer healthy Mexican-style food with local organic ingredients.
Family owned.
Family-owned.
Their phone number is 949-515-0909. And our listeners get...
15% off there as well.
Yeah. So mention Late Night with Chalky podcast and get 15% off at Caliente OC.
And both these guys are great at catering events. So you could use them for a shop event, corporate event, birthday event, wedding, all of the above.
They love to party. And last but not least, we are super stoked to welcome Olo Clip as a new sponsor of the Late Night with Chalky podcast.
What is Olo Clip?
They make the original mobile lens system for your phone. So these can make clips that hold the lenses, the cases that are designed to make it really easy to get the clip on the phone. So check them out at oloclip.com. And for all the Late Night with Chalky podcast listeners, they get 10% off.
That's huge.
Huge. So at checkout, the code is SURF10. That's SURF, the number 10. And you get 10% off Olo Clip.
And you guys got to check out our Instagram. We're going to be posting pictures with these wide lens angles, fish eye, all kinds of cool photo options with your phone.
And for you rich dudes out there, like Late Night, they do make lenses for iPhone 11s.
What? Epic.
Thank you, sponsors.
Thank you.
Friends and family, brothers and sisters, welcome to the Late Night with Chalky podcast.
Welcome. We're sitting here with the godfather of the surf industry, co-founder of Quiksilver, Mr. Bob McNight.
First off, it's an honor and a privilege to have someone of your resume, someone of your stature, to sit down with us and talk about your life and surfing.
Big
Amazing.
fan. Big
Thank
fan.
you.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Well, he's got all the time in the world. I think
Yeah.
you consult one day a week? Come on, man.
During COVID lockdown, I got plenty of time. It's good to get out of the house for a couple hours a day, they say. My therapist told me that. No.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So, Mr. McKnight, take us back to the very beginning. Let's talk about where you grew up and how you got into surfing.
Okay, so I grew up in Pasadena, up against the hills up there. A lot of smog in those days, but grew up in Pasadena. I was into playing baseball and tennis and sort of just community family sports. A friend of mine who grew up next door to me, his name is Mark Victor. Mark Victor was my age, so we were about 9, 10 years old, and he was on the Hobie surf team at a very young age.
Wow.
From Pasadena on the Hobie.
Pasadena on the Hobie surf team.
He was 10?
10.
Wow.
So I was just love, the guy had blonde hair and he's real god in our little town, and the little kids always admire other little kids. So he was like the guy. But I never thought about surfing because we're an hour away from the water. Yeah. But a couple times I went with him with his family, and we went down there and I watched him. And one of the times we went down with another family, the Carley family, and we went down to what is River Jetty today, and I was down there, little kid. Mark Victor was out surfing, and my friends had longboards, and I watched them walk by. And I love the beach because it's like sand between my toes, the sun on me, the water. I love the whole deal. I just didn't know anything about surfing at that point, other than Beach Boys and that kind of thing. So I watched them, and walking with these big long planks out to the water. It looks like so godlike, and they would get the thing and paddle out, and then they'd stand up and ride it. I was just totally smitten, just like that. So I borrowed some of the longboard guys' boards and started pushing myself in or whatever, and stood up and got kind of smitten. But it was very early stage, and I really had no idea of anything. Along the way, I started we moved to San Marino, so I left those people. And Mark Victor, by the way, had a horrible car crash and died.
You're kidding me.
No, right?
How old was he?
Probably 11 or 12. It was just
kidding me.
Awful. No, it was really, really awful.
No seatbelts back then.
No, I know. It was like a family trip. I don't know what they were doing, but they had a car crash and he died. So that was a big blow to me, early age. But
and you moved to where? San Bernardino?
San Marino, which was right next door.
Okay.
And in there, I met 3 or 4 of my best friends, even to this day, who were already into surfing, longboards, family trips. They had homes. A lot of the people in San Marino have homes in San Malo, if you know where that place is, just south of Oceanside before Carlsbad. Okay. There's like those Lombard French-style homes in there, very private. And a lot of San Marino people had homes in there, so we used to go down there all of our vacations. I either went to Newport or down to San Malo every chance we got, Easter break, summer, da-da-da-da. And we all started surfing, and at that point, it was all longboards.
Yeah.
And so I'm in San Marino High School. Another thing happened along the way. My father was a Navy pilot in the war, and at the end of World War II, he became the pilot to the Secretary of the Navy. He was a big-time Navy pilot. And after the war, he used to fly the Secretary of the Navy back and forth between Japan. In fact, he actually flew the president one time to Japan to sign all the agreements and settle the treaties and all that. And while he's there, he had a lot of downtime. So he started sniffing around. He was kind of an entrepreneur himself. And he started, after the war, bringing goods into America from Japan, all that made in America stuff. Hardwares, giftwares, sporting goods, whatever. When you go to Japan, as you may know, everybody does gifts. It's like you bow and you give gifts. So along the way, this person gave my father a big Sony Super 8 movie camera.
Cool.
So my dad didn't know what to do with it, so he gave it to me. So I started filming, and what am I going to film? So I started filming my friends surfing and all the other guys out in the water. I started filming, and I decided my friends weren't good enough, so I started chasing my friends in Newport, Ed Farwell and John Van Orem, and all the boys in Newport, filming. I'd go down to Oceanside and go to Black's and film, go up to Rincon and film. And so I started making these homemade Super 8 movies.
Was it expensive, like the film and stuff?
No, my dad just covered it. It was like shooting Super 8 rolls, and you have to take them in and get them
developed.
And then I would hand splice them on a splicer. I'd never get A and B roll. It was all just one roll. Yeah. Splice. I turned the projector on and I put music to it on a tape, push cassette play, push movie play, and watch.
How rad.
And it was really, really fun, and I did it as a hobby, and then people started really liking them.
Yeah.
So I started going up and down the coast and actually showing these movies in little theaters.
Wow.
Up and down the coast, and my sister would come and she'd get the money, $1 a ticket. And I actually paid my way through USC with the monies from the little movie career.
When did you start this?
This would have been 1970, 1969, 70.
And you're right there. 18, 16?
I'm 20? 18 senior in high school.
Okay.
And I made them a couple years, junior, senior, and then really they really kind of fully developed in my freshman and sophomore year of college at USC. But what happened is I would make these movies and show them up and down the coast, and I actually they kind of gained traction. And some of the later guys that started making real surf movies saw mine and were inspired by it. So I think I influenced a few early movie makers. And one of the funny stories, I made like 9 or 10 different movies, and one of them was called Rock Me on the Water. And I ripped off all the music, obviously, on all these movies.
You don't have these movies anymore, do you?
Well, there's a horrible story that I'll come in a second. But so the Rock Me on the Water one, down in San Diego, showing the movie, and at the end of the movie, everybody gets up and leaves, and this guy comes and taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know I really loved your movie. It was really cool, very underground. Love how authentic it was." I'm like, "Oh, great." He goes, and I go, by the way, I'm Bob McNight. He goes, "Yeah, by the way, I'm Jackson Brown." And I go, "Oh shit."
The singer Jackson Brown?
Yeah.
Wow.
I go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." He goes, "Hey, don't worry." He goes, "People rip off my music all the time, and I surf. I get it. I love the fact that you."
So he surfed.
Yeah.
Rad.
So anyway, that was kind of a funny little deal. But so I made these movies and paid my way through school, and then one time along the way, I had a Volkswagen van.
Was that like
a
the first
Volkswagen-
entrepreneurial thing that you did, or?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And I had this van, and all my stuff was in the van. Always, I had my surfboards, my wetsuits, all my movies, the projectors. Everywhere I went, there'd be a party, and they go, "Hey, McNight, pull your movies out. Let's show, watch your movies." Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, San Diego, wherever. And so it was in my car, and one night it was at a Doobie Brothers concert in Long Beach.
It went up in smoke.
I come out, we were a little bit smoked out, but I came out and my car was just destroyed. Somebody had taken a baseball bat to the Volkswagen van.
What?
Beat it up. Everything was gone. All my surfboards, my wetsuits, whatever. I don't know what they were looking for with it, but they took all my movies and my projectors, and so all my whole career was gone in like one night.
Oh my God.
And the guy probably just pulled the movies out and threw them in the trash. And what was he going to do with them?
Yeah,
So
he looked through the window and saw stuff to like probably make a buck
I
on.
really don't
What
know.
a tragedy.
So anyway, and where I got all this from also about the Serve Me part is that a long time ago when McGilvery Freeman were making their early movies,
Yeah.
Jim Freeman and Mark McGilvery, they would go up and down the coast and show their movies live in little theaters. So they would come up to Pasadena every year and show it at the PCC, Pacific Coast College, which is the only college in Pasadena. And they'd show the movie, stage, screen, big screen, and they would sit on either side with the music going, and then they'd personally narrate it, like you two guys. And they'd be making noises, and they'd maybe make jokes back and forth, and
How fun.
and ad-libbing off each other and all that. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I loved it. And I kind of got an early inspiration about that'd be a great thing to do.
Yeah.
But what happened is I exited that whole longboard thing really quickly because I wanted to be Wayne Lynch. Forget longboard guy. I wanted to be when that whole
Shortboard
evolution thing
revolution.
came out, shortboard revolution. I was smitten by Wayne Lynch to the point where I made my mom go get me red corduroy pants, and I grew my hair out like Wayne, and we started homemaking shaping boards and cutting things out of the Australian Surf magazine and blowing it up and putting it on the board so it looked just like his. And like 3 or 4 of my buddies, and we're all like, we're Wayne Lynch.
Yeah.
So I went down to McGilvery Freeman Studios, and I conned them into renting me Evolution for like a weekend.
Wow.
And my whole thing was I'm going to show it to the school assembly in high school. So I got the movie, $100 for a week or something. I take the thing back up to San Marino. I showed it at our assembly, true. And everybody's going, "What? This movie's so weird. Have you ever watched it? It's really weird. The music is like this acid, but the surfing is insane." And he goes to France and he goes to South Africa and all these places, and he's doing I didn't want to walk the nose and do all the kickback. I was out. I wanted to go upside down like Wayne Lynch. Do those cutbacks. You throw your arms up and
lay it on rail.
the big fat board turns. And so anyway, we showed it at the assembly, but then me and my friends watched it like 100 times, and we weren't supposed to because running the same thing through the projector is bad for the
Film.
copy of the film. Took it back to McGilvery, and Greg McGilvery and I are. I said Mark a minute ago. Greg McGilvery and I are still best friends to this day.
That's
and we
insane.
laugh about that because it gave me my early inspiration about making movies and my whole shortboard thing and everything else. Okay, so that episode's going along, and then all of a sudden I got to go to college, so I choose USC. I was going to go to Santa Barbara,
You're a smart kid then.
but yeah, but back then you didn't need the kind of grades you need now.
Really?
And you don't
Okay.
need the SAT scores and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's more like writing a check.
Yeah.
Back then. Still is a lot about writing a check. Just
A lot-
ask Massimo.
It's both now. Check's a lot bigger, a lot more zeros, and you gotta have a
Oh my
4
god.
point something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so I go up to USC and I continue my surfing thing. And every weekend I'm either, like I said, Santa Cruz, San Diego, all my friends. I was in a fraternity, but I'm not a big frat rat guy. I didn't go to big games. I was just a surfer that happened to go to USC. And I started studying business, and I got a degree in business, and I got a minor in cinema because my ascent, forget Quiksilver, my ascent was to go through school and get a minor in cinema, which I got, and then I wanted to come back. You have to go away for a year or two and get a work experience. You can come back to USC, go into the master's program, the MBA program, and it's free because you've had your undergraduate thing there, and it takes only a year to get through it. So that was what I was going to do. Go away, do some work, whatever. And then I was going to come back to school, get my degree, and then go make movies.
So your aspiration.
My aspiration is to go produce, write, direct, edit that whole movie industry. Because I was smitten by the early filmmaking, make my movies, Greg McGilvery, all all that stuff like I told you.
And you already kind of felt the success.
Yeah,
of
no,
it.
I loved it. And in college, you from one fraternity brothers, I used to make these camera cases that are homemade, with the gloves that go in, you can manipulate the camera inside these plexiglass boxes, and all my fraternity brothers helped me make them, and I had this whole movie thing. So then what happened is, in the movie thing, my parents believed in travel, so they sent me on the World Campus Afloat trip during school, during my 4 years of USC, which is, they call it Semester at Sea now, or you've probably heard of it.
Yeah.
So I went on that, and mine was like a 4-month, just Circle Pacific, all the great surf spots of the world. So it became like a surfing trip.
What a
making
coincidence.
I don't know what I'm going to learn there, but I'm going to get
making more
barreled.
movies, but one of the things that one of the places we went to was Bali in the very early days. We were in Bali in 1972, which was before a lot of people ever even knew Bali
Did
existed.
they even have an airport in Bali, or did you have
How
a
did
boat
you
ride?
hear about it?
They had it. Well, we didn't know. Our boat just happened to stop in Bali.
You're kidding me.
No, we'd heard about it, mysteriously, whatever. But when we got there, it was like, oh my God, this place. There was no electricity where we were in Kuta.
How long was that?
We went straight to the surf place,
How long was that
1972.
boat ride?
The boat ride was for 4 months, but the trips in between were usually like between 5 and 10 days at sea, and then when you landed at wherever you were at port, you're usually there between, let's call it 7 to 14 days.
Wow.
So Bali
you
was one
absorb,
of our
like, the culture
Yeah, that's what they
and-
want you to
yeah,
do.
get there.
And all the lessons learned between the two ports, they've taught you on the boat. They bring in professors from that country, and they tell you about culture and money and whether you can wear shorts or not, and whether you should shake hands, look people in the eye, all that stuff you need culturally when you arrive at a new tribe. So they did all that, and then they, in those lessons also, we learned about where you go on Bali and what to do, and what, so we had it fully mapped out when we got there. And by that time, there was like 5 of us who surfed, and so we were all best friends, and we all had girlfriends at that point. So we brought our girlfriends, and we all started messing around in Bali. We surfed before that.
Did you get to bring boards too?
Oh yeah, we had boards on the boat for sure. We had a quiver because we surfed everywhere. But in Bali, Uluwatu was not even found yet. So we surfed the reefs off of Kuta. I'm not kidding you. It was like
Airport lounge,
it
right?
was
Well,
so
now.
idyllic. It was the beautiful warm water, offshore winds the whole time. The water's like 84, 85 degrees.
Yeah.
Tons of drugs in the town. There was food. You go into a little wairong and you can order on a piece of paper. It wasn't even a restaurant. You just write down like soup, fish of the day, rice, beans, beer, and then they bring it out, and it was just amazing.
And
I thought
50 cents.
Maybe.
50 cents in a Losman, you get a banana and a tea every day as part of the deal, and the bathroom's down there, but nobody cared, and it was just awesome. So to me, I just was totally like, this is the place.
And that was your first time there?
First time there. So I do that, and then I decide I'm going to come back in the following summer. So we're in the fall of 72, so I come back in the summer of 73. And Pan Am had this deal where if you get a ticket to Bali is like on the way around the world. So you get a round the world ticket for like $1,000, and you can stop wherever you want as long as you keep going that way instead of backtracking. But if you go that way around the world, it's $1,000. And if you get 12 people to go, you can get 2 tickets for free.
You're kidding
So me
me.
and my friend from the boat got 12 people. And they were all from Huntington Beach. You're going to know a lot of these. Bob Cyrac and Skip Leafield. And I'm sorry, Skippy. There's a whole group that was all from Huntington Beach because this guy was John Silver. You remember him? He became a really pretty famous amateur surfing and contest, little guy, red hair. But I could come up with a list. You'll probably know them or know their kids well. Anyway, so we come back and we get ready to go to Bali again. And this time we all go, and then we spend 3 months in Bali over the summer of '73.
Did these guys just take your word for it that the waves were good, or did you take pictures and film while you're there?
They had seen the lore.
They
Also,
knew.
it was kind of coming out of magazines. It was a kind of an easy sell.
So,
they all
yeah.
wanted to go. They all had a great
It was
time.
already no.
But on that, the interesting part is on that trip though, I met Jeff Hackman, who became filmmaking, right? So Jeff Hackman's, oh my God, I got to run around, follow him around. We became best friends, and his little crew, which was Lopez, and he had Bill Sickler there and some other guys. And then our little group was very hardcore, and part of my group was Phil Byrne.
The shaper?
The shaper, who became best friends, and his other running mate, Skip Leafield, who became a shaper for another brand down there. And so there's early connection with Australians and me and Jeff Hackman and all that in Bali for 3 months. So we did everything. For 3 months, we'd get up every morning, get a BMO. We'd all meet at BMO Quarter. We'd go out to Uluwatu, which was a long BMO ride. We would walk in.
There's nothing out there.
Nothing out there. Stay all day with a little bag of fruit and rice, and there's no Wyrons, there's no city out there. There's nothing. A cliff. Go down to the cliff to get away from the sun, eat our little thing, surf all day, then get in the BMO, come back, go to dinner together, and just pass out, and then do again.
Best life.
Sign me up. That's
I know.
Best life right there.
It was insane. But on the trip, I met Jeff Hackman, and then I met a girl there by the name of Annette, and she became my future wife for 40 years now. So I met on this trip my future.
You met Annette there?
In Bali,
Wow.
same trip. I met my future business partner and my future partner on the same trip. So when I teach,
What are the odds of that?
in fact, I gave the business school end of the year the thing where all the graduates, the graduation speech. What are they? I forget what they call that, but the graduation speech. And there's 2,000 kids who have just graduated from the School of Business, like
The valedictorian speech?
Yeah,
Okay.
like me 30 years ago or whatever. And there's 10,000 parents up. It's in Galen Center at the USC. And the dean, who's a very good friend of mine, asked me to do it. I said, you got the wrong guy. He goes, no, you're the perfect guy. Everybody will relate to you.
Wow.
So I get up there, and the first thing I say to him, because I'm scared to death, and there's a podium, thank God, that whole speech, I just go like this. So I really wanted to do a good job, and I'm scared to death. It's like 12,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all looking at me, and I'm the guy. So I say, the first thing I say is, okay, everybody, and by the way, good thing, they're all drunk, because part of the tradition of USC Business School graduation is they all go to the 901 Club bar, drive the street, and they all get hammered, then they come to the graduation.
I think I hit that a couple times going before before
You
one
would
of the
have.
games or two.
It's famous up there. So I get up and I go, okay, everybody, raise your hand if you have no idea what you're going to do in life. And all the hands went up. And I went, okay, I was just like you, all of you, 35 years ago. And I said, and you know what I did? And I said, and you parents aren't going to like to hear this. I went on a surf trip. And they all went, yeah! That was so classic.
Icebreaker, huh?
And I go, no. But I went on a surf trip. But on the surf trip, I met my future business partner that he and I started, Jeff Hackman. We started Quiksilver together. And I met my future bride, Annette, who's right over there. I pointed to her. I go, we've been married for that point like 30 years. I go, and so don't rule out when you get done with school, you've been in school your whole life, to take a little time off. Yeah. Get out of Dodge. Take a trip. Go meet some people. See another culture. Find religion. Find your politics. Find whatever it is. You might meet somebody. Start a business. You might meet a future spouse. You might meet a friend. You might meet a but don't rule out that, because it was the best thing that I ever did, to clear my kimono and just get out there, and this is what happened because of it. So, and then later on in the day when we're out in the patio and everybody's meeting and greeting, all the parents come, oh my God, that was so amazing. I love
That is a rad
kids go,
speech.
yeah, I'm planning my surf trip right now.
Yeah.
And the speech went on and on and on, but that was just like kind of a highlight in my mind. So anyway,
Go back to Bali.
Back to Bali, where I met Jeff Hackman. So then Jeff starts inviting me to go hang out with him on the North Shore. So I go to the North Shore in this winter of 73, 74, and Phil Byrne's there because he's invited Phil Byrne, who's now one of my best friends and Jeff's good friend. And in the house is me, Jeff, Bill Sickler, his roommate, Phil Byrne, Sean Thompson, and me. That was our house.
Holy smokes.
And it was just awesome the whole winter. And this is the time when Off the Wall was just kind of coming of age, when Michael Thompson's down there
Start
claiming,
going right.
Michael
People
Thompson
are
down
going
there
right.
claiming that he found it, and just going, oh, really? But anyway, so we were surfing off the wall, those guys, and then we drift over into Pipe, and it was just like such a magical time for me being with my heroes. And Jeff would take me out to Sunset all the time and show me the ropes out there. And
So how was your confidence and skill level at North Shore?
well, it was zero, man. But I'd ridden some. I'm not a big wave guy.
Come on, Bob, it's not that big.
But I'd ridden some big waves in Bali, at Uluwatu, and some other places. But wasn't a big wave guy. But Sunset when it's 6 to 10 feet is sort of manageable for me. But over that, I'm out of there. Almost drowned one day. Hackman had to drag me out up the beach and to resuscitate me. But the other thing I'll never forget is that I sleep on the couch was my bed, and everybody else had kind of like Sean Thompson was up in kind of a cubby hole up there, and Phil was over there, and Jeff and Bill Sickler had the rooms. But that was the year when Jeff Hackman was trying to figure out the perfect sunset gun. And Tom Parrish was the guy that shaped him all the guns to get the perfect one, which he finally did perfect. But that period, they were working on it. So Parrish would shape a new board every day for Jeff. They were always 7 foot. Shape a perfect board. Maybe they're 8 foot. 8 foot. I think they're 8 foot. And he would shape the board, and then he would glass it all night, and then he would show up at dawn in the morning and knock on the door, and I'm on the couch, so I go get the door. And there's Tom Parrish again. He's got the mask up here, and he's got foam dust and resin and shit all over him. And
Just stayed up all
he
night.
has the art board on, and he's so excited. He comes in, and Jeff would never be up. So, hey, Phil, Tom, let's have a cup of coffee. Make him a cup of coffee. Do that. Have his cup of coffee. And then we'd finally get Jeff up because Jeff was slept in a little bit. There's always learning sickness in Hawaii. And Jeff would get up and he'd go look at the board. He'd look at it, put it on his arm, and do this, do that, check it out. And he'd go, nah, too thick. Just go back and shut the door and go back to bed. Or he'd go too skinny, too narrow, too this. No, the nose isn't right. He'd just pick on it. And poor Tom would just slink his head and just take the board and walk out.
Because Hackman was the man.
Hackman was the man. And every now and again, he'd keep one. He'd go out and maybe surf it. That was rare, but he'd paddle it a little bit.
Wow.
And Tom, this poor guy's like his little, just dog, this lap dog to make these boards every day. So I always wondered, what happened to all these boards? So way later in my career at Quiksilver, I started, tracking them down, and I actually got about 6 of them.
All
I
right.
made one every day. So there's got to be at least 40 of them.
Wow.
Anyway, that's just a sidebar. I have a lot of sidebars.
No, it's good. We love it.
So now I'm with Jeff. We're on the North Shore, and he is now. So we go that one winter, and then the next winter I come back again. Same deal, but this time I'm gonna house sit for him. I'm out of school and I've graduated. I'm getting ready to go back to graduate school in the fall. I'm enrolled. I'm applied. That's my deal, like I told you.
Yeah.
So now
This is in a span of a year,
yes.
pretty much.
So this is now this is 75 in the spring. And I'm house sitting for him. I'm looking after the A-frame. I'm feeling really special. I'm house sitting for Jeff Hackman, sleeping in his bed.
No shit, huh?
Could ride all of his boards and all this stuff. And I'm looking after his horse, his girlfriend's horse. And he knows about these board shorts coming out of Australia called Quiksilver, which at the time were out of Alan Green's house in his garage, where he's hand sewing board shorts to all the guys that would come down to Torquay for Bells Beach contest. So all the guys, Sean Thompson, to you name it, BK, Jerry Lopez, Hackman, all the guys that surfed at a big level would come down to Torquay. Because remember, there's no tour back then. It was just a loose,
couple events here and there.
a loose kind of vagabond system where you'd show up where the best surf was and they'd have a contest. So Bells Beach is the oldest running surf contest in the world. Except for this year it didn't run, but they'll give them a hiccup on that. But anyway, so so all the guys would go down there, migrate down to Bells Beach and start surfing bells, and they go to Alan. Part of the migration was to go to Alan Green's house and he'd give him a pair of shorts. So that's why PT got pink and pink. And
Yeah, kind of create
Mark
personality.
Mark
like
Richards
shorts.
got yellow and black and red. And And
'Cause nobody
Rabbit
had
got something
sponsors.
else, and Jeff got cream and brown for some reason. I don't know what his trip was, but anyway, so Jeff had these shorts in that when he came. And so I'm sorry. The year before when I'm on the North Shore, he knows about Quiksilver. He's telling me about it, kind of romancing me about, because he knows I'm going to go do this 1-year project. So he goes, why don't we do this as a project? We'll just Greeny will send us shorts because I know him. This is him talking. I know him. Bring the shorts. We'll sell them up and down the coast. We'll pay everybody back, and then we'll do that for a year, and you go back to graduate school. And I'm going, okay. I'm starting to listen about. Well, this could be fun. So then he goes off while I'm house sitting for him, and he wins the contest. First American that's ever won the Bells contest. So he calls me up, and it's 3:00 in the morning or something in Hawaii, and he starts going, "Hey Buzz," he calls me Buzz. I call him Q. That's a whole other story. But he goes, "Buzz, we got it. What do you mean we got it?
We got what?
We got what?" He goes, we got the rights to Quiksilver. What do you mean we got the rights to Quiksilver? Yeah, well, we had a big party. I go, well, first of all, who won the contest? I go, I know, how did you do in the contest? He goes, I won. I go, oh my God, I'm so excited he won the contest. He goes, but no, Buzz. But the night we had a big drunken brawl and I ate a doily and I convinced Greg. I go, well, slow down, stop. You did what? He goes, yeah, well, we're at this party and there's a lot of stuff going on at the party, and it's a pretty wild party, and I won the contest, so I'm celebrating big like everybody. So I started asking Alan Green if me and my friend Buzz can do Quiksilver in America. I'm going, oh my God, you did? Well, we haven't even finalized our discussion. He goes, I know. But Greeny, he finally got so sick of me bugging him all night long, he said that if I ate the doily underneath my plate, we can have the rights. So that's how he ate the doily, and that night it was like the big celebration was not only him winning the contest, but now that he and Buzz have the rights to Quiksilver in America, whatever that means. So anyway,
wow.
So he was like, he knew about business outside. Everybody wants to surf. Winning a contest is huge, but knew that Quiksilver is going to.
Jeff had no idea. He just knew that his course of like whatever professional surfing was at that time was ending.
Yeah.
There's no surf. There's
nothing. There's not.
Was Rip Curl?
And no, so Jeff, I will tell you, he had the vision because when he brought the shorts to me, I looked at him, I pulled them up and go, oh, they're all right, but I mean, it's like another pair of shorts. And what's the big deal? There's OP, there's Catalina, there's Hang 10, there's
Stubby.
no, not Stubby. I don't think so, but there's all these
Jansen.
all that. All that is out there, and they all make baggies, drawstring shorts you hang on to like a sack of potatoes. But these shorts were fitted, high waistband in the back, low in the front, 2 snaps, Velcro, the big black patch, very identifiable. And by the way, every famous surfer now is wearing them because they go to Bells Beach, they get a pair handmade in their colors, and they go back to South Africa, in Sean's case, to Hawaii, to Japan, to France, Spain, Portugal, wherever they come from. And now we're in center spreads and cover shots everywhere in the world, but nobody knows how to get these things.
Yeah.
So Jeff comes, and he had the vision of what what Lightning Bolt had done with that brand. And based on shapers and the Lightning Bolt and a few really good surfers, how they just exploded. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what to do with the growth, and they crashed and burned eventually because of partners and fallout and whatever. But he saw and he said Quiksilver's stronger than that at their point, so we could be big, whatever that means. And big then was like,
and
who knows?
Did he have college education?
No. He went to Santa Barbara City College just to go surfing.
Yeah, it's perceptive. He looked out and he saw what was.
No, he had the he had the vision. I was just like, okay. And he thought this is how silly we both were. He thought that I just graduated from the School of Business, so I must know everything there is about business.
Right.
I want this guy as my partner.
So I'm the perfect guy, and we get along. We're good friends, and we can do this. We surf together, we party together, we have a good time. So,
bronze and brains.
I thought, he knows everything about surfing. So he's magical if we go into the shops and we try to sell these things.
He's your best.
Because I learned that from by making my movie days. It's all who you know and to get your way. And so I thought, okay, well, and then so I started listening. And then when he actually got the rights, it was like, okay, well, I guess we
gotta get serious.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So we shook hands. I left Hawaii, went back to here, California, started getting set up for the onslaught of how we're gonna pull this off. And I'll just tell you one more story until we get to some of it. But so he none of us had any clue, obviously, and so but Greeny told us 3 or 4 things. Some of them were that first of all, we thought we can import the shorts from him. And he was like, no, I can't even supply my hometown of Torquay.
Wow.
Let alone Victoria, let alone Australia. I can't. Guys, you're on your own. You have to make these things. But I'll tell you what, I'll send you a kit that'll tell you everything that you need to know about starting Quiksilver and how to build the board shorts. We're like, okay, well, and he goes, and another thing he told us a bunch of stuff, but one of them was, and you need to go see this guy, Walter Hoffman. He'll help you. He's like one of my, he's a fabric supplier in San Juan Capistrano, and he'll tell you everything you need to know about this. But
So he already had that connection.
yeah, because he'd bought fabric from him.
Okay.
You know about the Hoffman fabric.
Yeah.
Okay, Walter
Hoffman
Hoffman
fabrics,
and the Fletchers and the big, surf family. And so Jeff and I are back here trying to get this thing going, and we have no clue. So we're waiting for the magical kit to come from Greenie, which takes about a month. And we go down
slow boat.
we go down and we talk to Walter Hoffman. And I don't know if you've ever been there. If you haven't had a chance to go there, he should be another podcast because his office is bigger than this whole room. He's got his desk, and then there's just shit everywhere: fabric samples, paintings, surfboards, wax, crap all over his desk. It's the most organized mess I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But he knows where every inch of it is. So we get in there and. He looks at Hackman. Hackman, what do you want? What do you guys do? Who's this guy? I'm Bob McNight. What do you guys want? We go, well, we're going to start this company called Quiksilver. And it's Alan, because he knows Alan Green. And Alan Green told us to come talk to you. Greenie. He goes, Greenie, oh my God. He goes, yeah, he bought some fabric. He still owes me money. God damn it. I need to talk to him about paying me back my money. So
Start off on a good note.
And then he goes, so what are you guys going to do? Well, we're going to start this thing. He goes, bad idea. This is the worst idea. He looks at Hackman and goes, Hackman, you're a surfer. I don't know about you, McNight, but Hackman, you're just a surfer. What do you know about apparel? It's the worst industry. It's the most godforsaken hellhole. People are going to kill you, rob from you, steal from you, cheat you. You have the wrong last name.
And he's a fabric supplier.
You have no clue about what to do.
Tough love.
And I'm just like, oh my God, great. This was our first session with Walter Robinson.
Yeah.
So we kind of go away. But Jeff was, I was like kind of bummed and down and sour and dour, but he's like enthusiastic. No, don't.
Yeah.
Let's just. We're not in the apparel business. We're making equipment for surfing.
Yeah,
Let's keep our eyes on the ball. We're making board shorts. We're gonna make them. It's a hardcore product. We're gonna sell them in a hardcore shop, like say the Hobie shop, and we're gonna market them when we have some money. Market them to surfers and in magazines. That's our thing. We don't need to worry about apparel. We never want to be in that. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we made kind of this pact about that's our deal.
For sure.
So then we go talk to my dad, who is also a mentor of mine. He ran a business, built up. He said the same thing. Worst idea ever.
Can I ask you what your dad, besides being a pilot, right? Did he have his own business?
Oh yeah, he eventually had his own business importing stuff from
that's right.
Canada.
Yeah, that's
Ended up being stuff from all over the world, actually.
Yeah.
From Peugeot bikes to out of giftware, sporting goods, hardware, all this stuff.
Wow. Okay.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
He sold it to a big company. And his first thing out of his mouth was, worst idea ever. In fact, he said to me, quote unquote, he goes, Rob, they called me Robbie, before I changed it to Bob. But he said, Robbie, you need to go back to wherever, go back to Hawaii and smoke whatever it is you smoke over there and get a better idea.
Go back to the drawing board?
Yeah. And I went, oh, God, that's great. There's my own father now. I've gotten it from my mentor, my new mentor, Walter Hoffman, and my own dad, who's my mentor. Both guys are telling me the same thing. Don't do it. It's the worst thing ever.
Wow.
So then I'm like kind of like defiant. Okay, no, we're going to do this. We can pull this off.
Prove everybody wrong.
Okay, so the amazing kit finally arrives. And the kit's a manila envelope. This big. Big as your paper here. And we open it up, and there's a label, one label from our board shorts. One snap to show me the tension of the snap we have to go find. One piece of Velcro, both sides, thankfully. Because Velcro was really hard to come by in those days. Nobody knew where to source it. It was like a brand new thing. And one piece of fabric about this big. And one pattern for a size, it wasn't even a size we know of because it was size 33 centimeters. which is 32 and a quarter or something like that. And a little note, which I wish I had kept in our archives, just, okay, boys, here you go. Here's everything you need to know. Best of luck, Greenie. We're just like, we've been waiting for this thing for, like, we're looking at the thing. Is there more?
Is there another package,
We're
guys?
going, oh my God.
Let's say one of one or one of two.
Like you had to figure out full sizing. Like you had to figure out where to get.
Was there a pattern?
Yeah, one pattern for size 33
Yeah,
centimeters.
like one
said.
size fits all. No.
So then we're like, so we go out to Hoffman and go, okay, Hoffman, we're going to do this, so please help us. Okay, boys, well, since you're going to do it, and he kind of pushes shit off his desk and starts teaching us. First thing, he goes, Hackman, here's what you got to do. You go with that assignments. Here, Hackman, here's what you're going to do. And he gave him kind of assignments of going around and prepping the shops and telling them it's coming because they'd seen them, but they didn't know what they were. And so he had to go around and start incubating that thing, which I did a lot with him, but that was his role. My role, he goes, McKnight, you got to fly to New York and find fabric. And here's what you do. You go to one of the big mills and you go down, whatever it is, Avenue of the Americas, and all the big fabric mills are there. This is 1976. All the big mills are there, and you got to walk in there, and you're going to make a fool out of yourself. You're going to ask and find and search and try to find this piece of fabric in your hand here at one of the mills, and you're going to order some, enough to make, call it, 500 pairs of shorts. Buy the fabric, get it on credit, because they'll give you credit.
Wow.
Then you buy it, and then in 30 days, you pay your bill. And you do it like 3 times, and then you'll be on auto. Like they'll give you then 60 days, and you'll be on their credit system. You'll be AA credit rating. Like, okay.
And 3 payments, 6 payments.
So 3 times you have to make a payment. 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. Order 3 times, and then you're on 6 months credit with them. So I have no idea about New York. It's winter, and I fly back there, and it's freezing.
It's kind of awesome how Hoffman planned out your business plan.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and it was kind of rad that he already had that foresight to go, it's easy. You do this and you do that.
And whenever I see him, I always remind him, you know what you told me? And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I'm so glad you didn't listen to me. And he laughs this big laugh, and I pay tribute to him every chance I get. He pays tribute to me every chance he gets. We have this great bond, which is still there today through the whole family. And watching, there's so many stories about going down to Hoffman Fabrics and spending all day designing prints, doing the colorways, ordering the prints, hanging out with Flippy, Walter, Tony, Marty, all the boys, and the shit that went on in that office would be like a book all in itself.
I bet.
Incredible. I mean, Hackman and I were sitting there just watching this 3-ring circus. I mean, at one point, Marty and his dad like duking it out in the office. I mean, just crazy stuff. But that's a whole other story. So anyway, so I fly to New York, and I go all around, and they're all just going, beat it.
Who's this kid?
Finally, I go to Milliken, this giant building, and I end up on the 42nd floor with this guy that had just been hired there, like an underling like me, and he took me under his wing, and he taught me about fabric, which was very interesting, the weft and the weave and the stretches and the content and nylons versus cottons and because we were trying to find a very specialized thing, and we have it now. It was a Milliken fabric that I forget the name. I'll think of it in a minute. But so we started ordering that fabric, and we did. We got the terms, we paid them, and that became our fabric source forever, and made this guy in the company actually pretty famous because we became pretty big with our company ordering Milliken. It was called Bandmaster, Milliken Bandmaster. And then later they it's a pretty funny story. I don't know if I can. You shouldn't be on the podcast. I want to say it in front of him. And we'll talk about that later off the mic.
He's got headphones on.
But anyway,
Earmuffs.
Oh God. So he started coaching us, and then we started ordering fabric from him and doing the prints. But anyway, for the first, so then we got our first. We go to LA and pick up some, because Milliken had Bandmaster on supply in LA once we were coached to go there. So we bought it from there first so we could build our first batch. We had a cutter cut them. We learned our first lesson about they'll rob you, they'll steal you, they'll kill you, because the cutter took our 500 yards of fabric, which should have cut 500 pairs of shorts, and he only gave us 300. We're going, God, I did the math over and over. I'm a business major. I can do the math of how many pairs of and we find out the guy's taking rolls of fabric, put it in the back of his car because he can make a lot more money selling a roll of Bandmaster than he can cutting our, because you make
Right.
20 cents
Skimming off the top.
20 cents a pair of shorts, but you can make $1 for each yard of fabric.
Oh no, it's the way the pattern laid out on the roll.
No, that's what he said.
Yeah, of course.
So then I started cutting them. So we found another guy up there that was very busy, but he had a cutting table, had a saw, and he taught me how to do it. This old guy, a great guy. And we bring the fabric in, and then we stack it up. I'd lay the thing out like I knew. I'd cut it myself. And then we found a seamstress in Encinitas called Summer Girl by Sandy, who had her own bikini line, but she had some spare time, and she loved Jeff Roadmaster, and she started building the shorts. But she was like, maybe a tenth of her day was on Quiksilver, and the rest of it was on her own swimwear.
Yeah.
So we'd go down there every day and we'd check on her. And I'm sure about an hour before we came, she'd get all the girls off the swimwear and put it on the
I've been working on
boards.
something.
I've been working on it all day. And then we had the big pile of shit because we'd have to snip the threads. Jeff would snip the threads. I would put the snaps on every pair, and he would iron them. There's a world famous surfer, snipping threads and ironing shorts. Then we'd put we'd get a dozen or 2 dozen out like every day out of Summer Girl, put them in the car, and then that's when we started doing our up and down the coast. Seeing
So
the
you
accounts.
would have a couple dozen pairs of.
And we'd walk in,
Quiksilver.
our first account was Hobie. The first accounts we opened on the same day were Hobie, Newport Surf and Sport, Paul Houston Stam, and Val Surf. Those 3 accounts we opened up on the same day. But because Jeff had gone around and romanced them, they were ready for it. And the Dana Point store, Hobie, had a sign up that said, Quiksilver coming soon. And he had that up for like 2 months. You know that old, you have to get up on the ladder.
Marquee.
Put
Yeah.
the letters up.
That's
was there
so
any
awesome.
ads and marketing going?
No,
Like,
God,
nothing.
we
It
had
was
zero.
all just
By the way,
word
we
of
started
mouth.
thing with zero money. My dad let me use the car. And
I just didn't
gas
know
money.
if like Alan or anybody was putting ads and mags in Australia that you guys got nothing.
No, there was nothing. There was the benefit of editorial pictures.
Yeah.
And everybody saw these things. They saw them. It's like the thruster when it came out. People would see them, but they couldn't get them yet until what's his name down in San Diego started making them. But anyway, so we were like drug dealers, but we didn't have drugs. We had board shorts. So we'd show up. They go like. So anyway,
I guess some of them
the
are
Hobie story ends where they go. When we show up, the guy ran out of the marquee. By the time we left the store, he had a sign that said, "They're here." That's all it said. "They're here," and they were sold out in like the next 2 days or something. People just would run in there.
Wow.
What sizing did you guys place into the stores? Like,
Well, we had a full size scale, but we
Okay.
had like if the meat was 32, so we'd have like 3 or 4 pairs of those, 1 pair of 26, 1 pair of 36, and just like that.
so
And deliver
incredible.
like 12 pairs, 24 pairs, and we'd walk in. Then we started after our first run of the first delivery. We'd walk in, and we always had a box of them, and we'd go, "How many do you want?" They go, "We want all of them." Well, we can't have all of them. How about you get 12? And they come out and they come to the back of the Volkswagen and they pull out, pull out the 12 and they try to pick the colors that they. It was just a classic ramshackle American dream starting up.
And they were
How much-
assorted.
Assorted.
Yeah.
How much did you sell them for?
We sold them for $8.50 was the wholesale, and the retail was $16. And we were the highest price by like $10. I mean, it was a joke. But they were just blowing out. We
So,
couldn't. So we
Hobie-
just were like, "Hey, this is pretty cool."
Hobie, Val Surf, and Newport Surf and Sport.
Newport Surf and Sport, yeah. Those are the 3 first accounts, and then we started going a little bit further south. And by the way, we went so many times, and I'm just going, this is only going to last a year, but this is going to be so much fun. I can hang out with Jeff Hackman, surf up and down the coast. We have this little project which is going to get me into graduate school, and we can chase girls and have a really good time. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
And so that was our deal.
That's a dream
And
job.
by the way, my period end of the sentence is, so everything I learned at USC about business plan, cash flow statement, lawyering, starting a business, registering, we didn't do any of that because it was supposed to be a year project.
Yeah.
Swear to God, that was it. 1 year and I'm out, and Jeff and I both knew it. We shook hands on it, and that was it. So our first year, we had one style of shorts, was a scallop leg, which you all remember.
Yeah.
We made it in a whole bunch of colors, solids, and we also introduced a print kind of towards the end of the first year. At the end of the year, I kind of go, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
We're having a good time, and everybody loves us, and they love it, and they can't wait to see us. This is really fun. Like, we're in demand.
Yeah.
You know what it's like to be a young kid right out of college, and you got something that. And again, we didn't because we didn't
weren't
know
having to
we
sell,
didn't
you were
know how
offering.
long it was going to go. But I can always go to graduate school. I can go 2 years and 3 years because the door's open there as long as you're getting a business. And it's a great business experience. I'm starting a business. So then, second year, we start adding, like now we're adding a square leg, which became quite famous. And then scallop leg. And then we did started doing prints and all that. And so
You worked at the cannery with
Tom Holbrook.
yes.
Yeah, I was Tom Holbrook's bar boy. So he was the bartender and I was bar boy. I was his butt dog. I had to go get the
I need more ice.
I know. I need more ice,
Yeah.
more beers in
I
the
need these
cooler,
clean
more
glasses clean.
more wine,
Yeah.
more open these wines, back me up. And he's out there and he's getting all the chicks and hanging out. He's a god. I'm just like this little dopey running around back there. It's so classic. But Tom's the only, and I tell people what I'm doing and they're all going like, that's the weirdest thing ever. You're doing what? And all the other bartenders are kind of laughing at me. And Tom paid attention.
Yeah.
And he started listening. And then he
So
started
you were
going,
living in
I really
Newport.
want to help. When it gets to the point where you need somebody, let me know. And I'd like to help. I want because he was selling T-shirts, blanks with logos on it for restaurants through somebody else at the time. So he kind of
I already knew.
about how this whole thing worked.
Yeah.
And he was hip to the whole, because he surfed. He and I'd met because I started the USC surf team.
Okay.
And he was on the Irvine surf team. We'd have competitions, and so we got to be friendly with all these guys. And Tom was one of the guys that we competed against. We became really good friends in that because it's Newport Beach and all that. But
you were working at the cannery.
but I like I said, when I was at USC making my surf movies to pay my way through, I was also had my schedule stacked up. So I go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, go down to the beach for the rest of the weekend, and work at the cannery and the Red Onion. And surf.
The Red Onion.
Yeah,
That was huge.
I was a bartender at the cannery and a waiter at the Red Onion, which is a whole bunch of other stories, which we don't need to go into now.
I've heard many stories about that place.
Oh my God, those were great days, and just surfing, hanging out, bartending, and we had this little business started. And then I moved in another house. It was at 31st Street. Then I moved to. We actually started getting the board shorts in. We moved to 59th Street, and we looked right down the barrel at 56th Street, which was great. So that was like our home base surf spot, and all the guys started coming over and staying with me who wore Quiksilver, like Rabbit. And at one point, I had like Wayne Lynch in my house, Rab Bartholomew.
Your hero.
Oh my God, Terry Fitzgerald, and Simon Anderson, all staying at my house at the one time, and I'm just going like, I have just died and gone to surf heaven.
Yeah.
And we're all out surfing and playing the tennis court. They were playing tennis and all these heavy aggro tennis games, and then we go out at night and
Rage Against the Machine.
It was just great. And that's when along the way somewhere in there, Shane Horan had his 21st birthday party, and we had that amazing party just off the main road in Newport, about 52nd Street. In one road in, it was supposed to be like 100 people, and then like a couple thousand people showed
You're
up.
kidding me.
There was no social media back then, but everybody found out at Shane Horan's party, and the cops came, the SWAT teams, and then we thought, okay, end of party. But the Hawaiians, like, what's his name? God, Titus Kinimaka's brother. There was about 5 Hawaiians there to be at Shane's party, and they started brawling with the cops.
Wow.
Famous deal. And they were holding their own until they called another SWAT team. And then the 3 SWAT teams finally overwhelmed the Hawaiians and beat the shit out of them and took them all to jail. And Lance jumped in there, so he got beat up and he got taken to jail too. So the next morning we were all about, I didn't want to get beat. I ran. I didn't want anything to do with it. I'm a little pussy from San Marino. But anyway, so we all went to jail. We had to like bail all these guys out. It was just a hilarious scene. That's a whole other story. But anyway, this is early Newport days. We're down there, and then so anyway, we're building the shorts. We're stacking the shorts in my living room. And Jeff and I would make our trips, but then we got a rep on the East Coast. We started shipping to the East Coast, and then we had to go package up in our living room, drive them to UPS, do this thing, sign up, and send them off. And
So how did you get connected?
then we got Holby as a rep. We
Okay.
finally decided and this is, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years into it now.
Yeah.
We've gone past the 1, 2, 3 years, and I've given up now. Now I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because now we're getting, we're starting to make headway, and we're almost to the point where we're making some money, but not quite, which is a whole other story. I'll tell you in a second. But we got to about 7, 8 years into it, and
Making just board shorts
that's all we made.
for
3 styles of board shorts and a T-shirt.
for 7 to 8 years.
We went public after 12 years, and we were after 10 years, 1970, 88. So 12 years into our thing, and we're only just shy of $20 million in sales, and we went public. And all of that was only board shorts and a T-shirt, and I think we had a walk short at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's all we made. And by the way, we made more money margin-wise than we've ever made anything. So that's a real lesson there about focus, less SKUs.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. And that, as you know, that's what board riders are doing now. And this
Yeah.
COVID thing is going with everybody's lines because we all make way too much crap
Way too much.
compared to what's actually really sells.
Yeah.
Dude,
You're
I
right.
can't believe that.
So
Yeah.
I thought you would have,
Generation-
expanded into other.
But once
that was smart.
But once we went public, then by the way, everybody had also told us in our.
Why did you?
I think we were less than 20 million. I think we were like $18 million in sales.
in the U.S. alone.
That was our total sales. So yeah, U.S. That's our territory, U.S. and a few accounts in Mexico at that point.
And at that time, what was your biggest retailer? guys
It
started
was
doing-
all surf shops. So it was
Yeah.
because we made our thing was like Jeff and I shook hands on it. We made a pact in the blood about board shorts, equipment for surfers, sell through surf shops only, and then core audience. So at that point, though, we're doing some ads. Of course, we opened up Surfing Magazine was our first ads because of what's the name of the famous pipeline rider Mike Armstrong was our rep, and I knew Mike. Jeff knew Mike from Hawaii. And so we advertised there, but our deal was all along we'd go to every beach because we would know the account. The account would help us to go find the best young surfer at the beach, free bear board shorts.
Yeah.
It's exactly like social media today and influencers and all that, but we
Yeah.
just did it with a free pair of shorts.
That was the way it was done.
And
So
it
it should still
obviously
be
works.
done.
It still
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then my other part about that is that we made over the 10 or 12 years where Jeff and I combed the whole coast, and we started doing the East Coast and of course Hawaii, but we made best friends, brotherhood ships with these guys who now they still own the shops, but their kids now run the shop.
show, yeah.
So my job as ambassador now, we go around, I hang out with a guy up here because we drink beers and hang out, we talk about old stories and surfboard wars and all that stuff, and then our reps like Mikey and all that, they go in and they relate to the buyers who are typically the shop owners' kids, which is just great because that bond is forever because we've all been to war and hell and back with all those guys.
Yeah.
And they respect our whole history and how we've stuck with them through thick and thin, and we never went to the dark side and all that kind of stuff.
So go back though,
Okay.
because this is a famous, funny, controversial thing that happened, right?
Yep.
And you're talking about the red hot surfer kids in each area. How did Danny Kwok come into the picture?
Oh my God. Okay.
Little
well,
hot
like I
stuff.
said, we're now at 56th Street House, and we're doing the shorts and everything, and so we got all the boys around, and we're all surfing all the spots, and this little fiery little Hawaiian looking Japanese, whatever he is, kid with long hair, and he's just a nightmare. He's screaming and yelling and hey, coming down. He's just like out in the water. He's just, and we're all back then, we're wearing, plain dyed board shorts, white surfboards, black wetsuits, and we're surfing and we're respectful of the sport and all that. And he's like firing around and doing
Flamboyant,
You're the old
colorful.
guard.
and he's
You're
got
the
like a
old
little
guy.
crew there, and they're all like little brats. So we knew about him, but that was it.
Echo Beach.
So we're up at our Quonset hut on 17th Street, where our first factory. Those Quonset huts are still there, by the way. You know the ones on 17th Street?
Yeah.
There's another story of that because Marshall Duffield's family owns those Quonset huts.
Wow.
Marshall Duffield's the guy that invented the Duffy boat.
No way.
So he's one of my best friends to this day, and there's a great story along the way that I'll tell you in a second. But we're in the Quonset hut, and the Quonset hut is a thing like this. Here's 17th Street out here, and so there's an office out there which is about as big as across your room like this, and then back here is the big tin Quonset hut, and a door back here. So we had a big cutting table because by that time we're cutting the shorts ourselves. We have a couple of girls sewing because we did the custom thing also, and then we have this table. across the whole back. And the table had the board shorts on it, starting with size 26 down here to 36 down there by the back door. 26, 27, 28, 29, all the way up. Stacks of the shorts, big stacks, because by then we're got stacked
Your
up.
production. Yeah.
We could supply people. We're in. All of a sudden, Jeff and I are up there hanging out, and our other guy at the time, Pete Wilson, and all of a sudden we hear this, bang!
Full car crash,
What was
burnout.
that? Yeah, a car crash, burnout, and a door slamming. Like, holy shit! So we all run back there, and the door is going like this. It's slamming in the wind, and our size 36 stack are all gone. Like, holy shit! We've just been robbed. Like, what the fuck? First of all, how does anybody even know we're here?
Yeah.
And then we wait a couple days, and all of a sudden this kid comes in, Anthony Gaddy, I remember his name, another local surfer in town, and he goes, and he was like the little rat. He comes and goes,
I know who took
I
him.
know who did it, and I'll give you the name if you give me a free pair of board shorts. That was easy. Here you go, bro. Danny Kwok and Preston Murray. Oh God, not those guys. So we knew how to.
So
get
were they sponsored by you?
no, God no. They're just wing nutting around
They
Newport.
just
We
saw
hated them.
Yeah.
They just saw you guys
We hated them.
killing it, and were the
Yeah.
cool guys making the money in the shorts,
exactly.
and they wanted to steal.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. And they wanted them so bad, and their parents wouldn't give them money, and they couldn't go get them, and they had to have them because everybody did. They were like the thing, had to have it. So they stole them, and we found out their names. So we get a hold of them, bring them up, we sit them in the office up here.
How junior were they to you guys? Like 10
Oh,
years
they're
younger?
10, 15.
Oh, okay, so they're grums.
Yeah. 10 to 15, somewhere in there. So we get them in there, and we just go like, hey guys, we know you did it. I'm sure you don't have them anymore, but here's what you're going to do. You're going to pay us half the money back, and here's your bill. And the other half, you're going to stay around here, and you're going to work. You're going to do stuff for us until you've earned off the other half. And if you don't agree to this, we're going to call the cops.
Yeah.
And we'll call your parents, which is probably worse. But in the meantime, if you do this, we won't take that next level. And they're scared to death. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And they'd heard about all the lore about Mickey Nielsen, duct taping kids up to. So we threatened that to both
we'll
of
bring
them.
Mickey in.
We're going to duct tape you to the outside pole and put a sign on you that says thief if you don't. We weren't ever going to do that, but we threatened that, and that scared the shit out of them because they knew that we had done that in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Some of the early surfers we had that Mickey had done that to him. So anyway, so Danny was pretty. He never came up with any cash, but he was the harder of the workers. Preston paid some cash reluctantly and did a little shit work. We knew he was in trouble, but he just didn't want to know about it. He's like a born little criminal anyway. So, and by the way, he's one of my best friends now. But he just sort of like did a slow fade and went away. But Danny stuck around there, and he, and we made him do, sweep the floors, clean the cars, clean the toilets, just shit work.
Yeah.
We were pissed off at him, right?
Yeah.
And then because we had to go get the 36s replenished so we could keep shipping. It really put us back a few weeks.
Yeah.
But they were rocking the gear on the beach, and they ripped. Like Danny.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
No.
This is leading to the story.
So you guys, it was you, Hackman, and Holbrook. And then,
Well, Holbrook was selling, but he wasn't in the executive team. Was me, Holbrook, and this other guy called Pete Wilson at the time. Pete came in for about a year, and he helped finance.
I think I know Pete Wilson. He's been an investor in a bunch of different things, right?
Yeah. Troublesome things. So be careful of him. But anyway, don't put that on the podcast. But anyway, he's also one of my really good friends, but wouldn't give him $1 for an investment. All right. So anyway, so we're now got Danny, and he's doing all this stuff, and then he of course we give him a few pairs of shorts because we feel sorry for him, and then part of the deal when we're talking to him up in the front room about what they have to do. One of the rules was also, and if we three of us are out surfing and you see us or we see you, you have to go 100 yards south, 100 yards north, 100 yards out to sea, or go in. That's the rule. So of course we'd drive around and look for his car. We'd go out there and we'd see him scramble and get out of the way. But he had to shut up around us because he knew it was big trouble if he didn't follow the rules.
Yeah.
This is classic. But so then Danny's so charming, he started charming us, and that's exactly what it is. So he turned it from the thief to actually working for us, and he stayed on and kept earning a wage. And then eventually we know he's a really good surfer, so now he's down there ripping in our shorts, About the same time, we helped Don Craig start Rip Curl wetsuits in town. I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
we were great friends with Rip Curl all along. We still are because of Torquay. Both brands were started in Torquay. They made wetsuits. We made board shorts. The two founders agreed. Handshake in the blood. They're never going to make board shorts, and we're never going to make wetsuits. And that was it till however many years later. But so we helped them get Rip Curl going in America. So we set them up kind of down by Lance, where Lance was in there. So they're starting to Rip Curl wetsuits. So now we could put Danny Kwok and our other riders, our hot team riders, in a pair of Quiksilver wetsuits and a Rip Curl wetsuit. Rip Curl wetsuit and Quiksilver board shorts. And Don Craig loved it, so we could kind of slipstream together. And then, lo and behold, Jeff McCoy comes into town. And this goes all the way back to our early days in Bali, where we met this guy, Skip Leafield. He becomes a shaper for Jeff McCoy. And we get to know Jeff. He comes over because he knows Jeff Hackman made his boards for a while. We go on surf trips. So now we help Jeff McCoy get started through Greg Pouch. So now we have Quiksilver, Rip Curl, and McCoy all in the same neighborhood, and Danny Kwok, this little crazy little guy, good surfer. So we start putting him in all three things. And along the way, Bruce Raymond comes into town as sent by Greeny as an agent to help us with marketing, because Bruce knows the playbook from Australia. And Bruce was the first guy that figured out this photo thing where you do a bottom turn, like with Bryce Ellis and Bruce Raymond, where you have Rip Curl, Quiksilver, McCoy. Remember those days trying to get all three brands into editorial?
Yeah.
And nobody did that shit before then.
Yeah, it was product placement, not
No.
action photo.
Yeah.
Like
It's
It's an action photo, but it's accomplishing the marketing.
So Bruce
aspect.
Raymond started that, and Danny Kwok was the first protege of that, and then Danny through that. Then all of a sudden, in Australia, Alan Green sends to his accounts. Imagine this, because you both worked in the surf shop, whatever. Imagine if you ordered what you ordered, but all of a sudden you open up the box and it's nothing. And this is like plain dyed board shorts, colors, black and white, yellow, green, pink, whatever, and some prints. And then all of a sudden you open it up and it's checkerboards, polka dots, stripes, harlequins, stars, and bright colors. And that's all you get in your box. And the accounts are just going, and this is in Australia, they're just going like, Colin Greeny, what the fuck is this? We can't sell these. And Greeny's going, hey, no, they're going to be great. You'll see. I've got great inspiration about this and spent a lot of time on it. We've done a lot of research. They're going to love it. And Greeny's in the background just like fingers crossed. It's like, oh my God. He gambled the whole company on one season's delivery of what became Echo Beach board shorts. And of course the shorts blew out. So we took the impetus there and brought all the fabrics in, and our guys and the girls in the back shop started sewing shorts. And guess who? Danny Kwok got his polka dots made.
Yeah.
And then polka dots begot the checkerboards. And then he starts bringing his little crew in. Preston Murray, Gothard,
Smirk Mangan.
Smirk Mangan. I met his brother the other day, of all things. And, Jeff Parker, and all the boys started coming in, getting their and then Lance started matching the surfboards if they didn't ride for McCoy. So now we had, and then the Rip Curl wetsuits started getting brighter. So we had the wetsuits, the surfboards, the Quiksilver Echo Beach board shorts, and it was just this 52nd Street phenomena that just happened.
Yeah.
And everybody outside of 52nd Street hated those kids and that action, but all the photographers were there every day. They've got it in every magazine.
Yeah.
All the pros were getting pissed off because all the magazines are full of like color, fun. These guys going off. They're really good surfers. They weren't pros, but some of them kind of tried to go pro. But and it became this unbelievable thing. So Danny Kwok, and then so Bruce Raymond taught Danny about marketing, and then when Bruce eventually went back to Australia, Danny Kwok became the head of marketing at Quiksilver. So that's how that whole lineage happened.
Yeah.
And by that time, Danny knew the playbook, and Danny became really good at the playbook, and he brought Wooly in. Sorry, thank you, Wooly in, and then Wooly also incubated at Quiksilver under Danny and Bruce Raymond's tutelage and guidance and expertise, and all the films and the surfers that we had, Kelly Slater and Wooly made the movie about him, black and white, and so there was this tremendous. And then Wooly decided to go to college, to graduate school himself, and I wrote the letter to the dean to get him in, which he still thanks me to this day. And then when he got back, he worked at Quiksilver, and then he started Volcom. And he came to me, and he was all like nervous. I'm going to go start my own brand. I go, God bless you.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Good for you. Frick, I'm glad I had something to do with this.
All right,
Can't
let's
wait to
go
see
back
it.
though.
Okay.
So Echo Beach, Newport, right? Who came up with Echo Beach?
Echo Beach is came up in Australia. It was the underground name for the very corner of Bondi Beach where all the drug deals went down. So the druggies would meet their dealers and they would do their deals in this little zone, and it was like social media. Go to Echo Beach, blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
but not through word of mouth or the phone or whatever, so that nobody would pick up on that's what where the deals are going down. So that was Echo Beach. And so Greenie adopted it because Greenie's got a little rugged punk rock side to him also.
Yeah. In the 80s, it's all about.
Yeah, and so he had these prints that Simon Buttonshaw did for us, and the prints of Echo Beach were fashioned off of horse riding jockeys, like horse racing.
Each
Because Greenie was totally into horse racing, and he
Yeah.
still is. He has like 100 horse races. He's won the Melbourne Cup a few times. I mean, he's a big guy in horse racing. So he has always been influenced by the jockey outfits. That's where the polka dots and checkerboards and all that
and
stuff
all the
came from.
bright colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Echo Beach came from that, and then the boys here, we just adopted it as like 52nd Street.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a drug place, but so
But it was totally different than what all the other brands were doing at the time.
it was so.
I mean, OP,
oh my
and
God.
Hank Tan were mostly solids and chords and kind of basics. And
I remember when we did a film launch up in Santa Barbara for one of our other Quiksilver movies that we made that Danny helped make. I don't even know what it was now, but we went up there and all those guys showed up, and they all showed up in their pompadous. And, and they got basically chased out of the theater. People were throwing shit at them, and oh my God, screaming at him, "You little punk asses, get your fuck out of here!"
Yeah.
It was like so classic. I'm sitting in the back. Me and Jeff was going, "Oh, this is great for for business."
I couldn't believe how, because I was a young kid watching that all happen and wanted to be Danny Kwok.
Yeah.
And get the polka dot surfboard, polka dot Quiksilver trunks, and
Well, I really thoroughly believe that was the beginning of the inspiration of color, art, graphics, sound, music, language, all that for surf, skate, snow industry.
yeah.
I mean, not the ground zero, but certainly it's where it went from like in surfing where it was black wetsuits and white surfboards to like fun and color and you can be outrageous.
It was the first iteration of like youth against establishment.
but like
Kinda, yeah.
different genres, whether it's like the hippies had the tie-dye look, and the
Yep.
Rosses had this look, and the punk had the black and leather white t-shirt jean look, and this was just perfect for
new wave.
the beach
And
lifestyle.
as much as everybody wanted to reject it, everybody adopted it and just started
for
going
sure.
nuts. Look at Stussy launched and Gotcha launched and all these things launched out of that era because it was like now we can go crazy. It doesn't have to be so in its little box, know.
Yeah.
So go back and for 77 was pretty much when
You launched.
76.
Right? 76.
August of 76 was our first delivery.
Okay. And then for 7 years, all you did was board shorts and t-shirts and one walk shorts.
Yeah.
And from cold calling and going up and down the coast,
Hiring reps.
Cutting fabric, delivering fabric.
doing all yourself. Do you remember your first trade show and where was it?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of like the first show we went to was the Surf Expo show in Florida because that was an ongoing show where the typical fare was bikinis and beach towels and buckets and shovels. And
But that was core, but also like resort and kind of a
more
little bit
resort
of
than
everything.
core. But yeah, it was the only place that in the East Coast
That-
shops could show up and buy their crap for tourists.
Yeah.
Seasonal, very seasonal. And so Jeff and I showed up, and we only showed up because we hired a rep back there called Bob Merrigan, who was this long ponytail hair guy who worked for Sparky at Rainbow Sandals. So he had Rainbow and Quiksilver, which were two of the best brands in the world to have on the East Coast. And he's the guy that went around and actually hired all of our reps, and a lot of them are still reps and still at Quiksilver. But anyway, that's another story. But so he was our rep. We went at the trade show, and we basically would show up, and he had a little toolkit, and we would build the booth, go buy plywood, and put the thing up, and staple and pound nails, and put our little table up, and it was really rang-dang. That little curtain in the back with our board shorts, and I would when the accounts came, I would give our little story, just like I'm giving to you guys. I'd talk about Greenie and Torquay and Hackman and the riders, and as we advanced into more and more trade shows, the stories became more and more bullshitty and more prevalent. But by that point, we had print stories like Echo Beach. We had war paints. We could talk about the print stories and the travels, and then it would lead to discussions about the surf trips and the contests and how our riders are doing. And the counselors loved it. They ate it up. And everybody started doing that. It's all about storytelling.
Yeah.
And so, but I'll never forget one of the things where there's one magazine back there, and I forget the name of it, but they were run by the Gunner brothers, and they were like everybody was scared of the Gunner brothers. They just controlled. They're like mafia in Florida. And they came to our booth, and at one point they just went over to Jeff Hackman, and they knew who he was, and he just picked him up, grabbed him by his scruff, and just held him up like that. One of the brothers had said, "Hackman, you're putting a double spread ad in our magazines from here on out, right?" He's just like, okay, and then just dropped him. That's how these guys did business. And I'll never forget that. And then the next day they come by, and Jeff's not there, and they're, "Where is he?" And then they grab me and they go, "Where is he?" I go, "He's in room 2242. God, it was just crazy back then. It was like kind of like
Wild West,
a heavy side to it, and there was Blue Man bikinis. I'll never forget that. There's like this little character from Brazil, and he had these beautiful little Brazilian girls in these little teeny tiny bikinis, and they would parade the show, and everybody says, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." So it's really strange times in those early Surf Expo days. And then the next one was in Long Beach, was ASR that started, and that was the kind of launching of, I think, sort of surf industry as we know it on the West Coast, because all the brands showed up. No one knew what they were getting themselves into. We paid our little fee to get in there, and then nobody showed up or whatever. It was kind of not very well attended, but it was everybody had a booth, and that was sort of Stussy, Gotcha, ourselves, Maui and Sons, Jimmy Z's, all that were at these. And so that, because they weren't very well attended, they turned into just sort of parties, and then it would be like hanging out at somebody's booth, beers cracking here, tequila over there. Everybody would go to the bar in Long Beach after. It's just like more of a party, and that's how sort of it kept going all the way till its demise. It was just like an industry party that the accounts would come to.
But regardless of a party, it's good to get amongst your peers and talk shop. I mean, you all want the industry to elevate, and competition's good, and if you're selling, they're selling, and we're making money, then it's a party.
Right. But different from a typical industry event, it was a lot looser and a lot more about relationships and bringing the riders in and hanging out than it was about actually sitting down and writing business. That's my only point.
Well, my wife hates it when she's like, "Oh, you got to go to your sales meetings, and we have, beers and mimosas in the morning, or Bloody Marys to start the day," and she's like, "That doesn't happen at my corporate events."
Why so many people work for it, because it's so much fun to be in it.
So much fun.
Be part of it.
So, when did you decide, and how did you decide to go public?
So
because you are a businessman, a surfer businessman, and you know how like surfing is so core, right? Like,
well, we had heard from all of my mentors, like I told you. From now, there's a few more, but they're all telling me that apparel is like the worst business. You never, and you're in not only apparel, but you're in surf board short apparel. So I mean, how big can you get?
Yeah.
There's no way you can get bigger than $10 million. There's just no way. You have nobody who's done that yet. So who are you following? I know the government didn't send me a pamphlet on how to run a $10 million surf brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we are making it up as we go along, and we're in uncharted waters. By that time, I'm married and I have a kid. Jeff is married. He has a kid, Ryan. And so all of a sudden any entrepreneur will tell you that the hardest part is just financing the company. How do you pay for everything? Whether it's partners that have money, whether it's bank, friends and family, bank loan, whatever you do.
Of business.
And it is a study at every university in the country, and everybody who goes into business. Like, how do you finance it?
Yeah.
So we'd finance it through various investors that came and went, and it was very frustrating, and we wanted to get on some sort of like a sustainable path. So someone came to us with the idea of going public. So we looked at it a little bit. Public back then was like, oh my God, it's the most straight arrow anti-surf Spicoli thing you can do, and our accounts are gonna think we've sold out, and we're gonna sell to all the department stores and all the Edison brothers, who were the Pac Somewheres of the time, all those stores, and we're like, well, okay, so we've got to figure out a way, if we do this, to counter that.
There was you, Jeff, and were you like licensing?
By that time, Jeff was gone.
To Greeny?
We were all along, we were giving royalty to Greeny.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, all along. And part of the public offering was to buy the trademark for America and Mexico from him.
Okay, so
from the proceeds.
Jeff was gone. You wanted to get that.
Jeff was gone. He'd gone into the dark side, with his drug stuff, and so we sort of sent him down to Australia to dry up, clean up. The brothers Nielsen took care of him, and made him teach surfing and sell wax in the stores just to get well. Got well, came back, got it again, went back. Then finally he ended up going to Europe and helped start Quiksilver Europe over there. This was like his last chance. Greeny was giving him like his last chance.
Yeah.
But that's another story too. But anyway, so we to your thing. So we, again, back in my mentors telling me that you can't get bigger than $10 million, and we're already at like $18 million. Yeah. So I really thought that this is like going to go off a cliff any minute now. And so I have a family. This is my thinking. Yeah, my 10th, 11th year. We're thinking, Jeff and I, or not, our other guys and me, about this public thing. We can raise money. Each of us can take out like $1 million each or something. We can raise the money, and that'll help us grow. Whatever grow means, because we're going to fall off a cliff, but at least now we are growing on somebody else's money. I don't have to. My family's safe. I have $1 million in the bank.
Yeah.
I have a paycheck, and so family McNight is safe. That was my thinking.
Yeah.
And I also wanted, my partners didn't care about this, but I did. I want to get some of these guys in on the action, like Tom Holbert, like Danny Kwok, some others in there, and give them shares of stock. And so with the public offering, we can give them options, share options, which is amazing, because now they can grow with the stock price, and they're part of the deal.
Yeah,
invested. Which I really relish that when you have your employees motivated like that.
Yeah. Can I go back? So let's say it was like year one, you're within a year you're supposed to go back to college, right?
Yep.
But you didn't.
Nope.
Right? So what did your dad say?
Well, my dad by that point had seen that this is
good.
Cool.
Okay.
This is going, and he's an entrepreneur. He's seen his thing start from nothing. He was bringing crap in from Japan to America, who was like at war with Japan a minute before. It's like, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
Just like the Duffy story. But anyway, it's that sort of while. But
that's cool.
But anyway,
really
so
cool.
He embraced it.
Yeah.
And he actually was, and then we had like a little loose, like a board of advisors, which he was on, which he loved, all that stuff. But so we decided to go public, and then we thought we'll earmark X amount of money to make sure and go around and talk to all the core accounts and convince them that we're going to pour all of the money we make of this profitability of growth back into you, which is more team riders, more events, more outfitting your shop guys, more window displays, more fixtures. That's why we hired Steve Jones to come do all the core signs and all that stuff. We're just going to do a love gushing of taking care of you, because you understand, you guys are our thing.
Yeah.
This other stuff, we want to grow. Everybody wants to grow. You want to grow too.
Yeah.
We want to grow, but the only way we can grow is by reaching out a little bit to some of these like Pac Somewheres, and at that point it wasn't department stores. It was just some bigger distribution, and not even in your town. We're talking about Midwest, Great Lakes, inland Florida, whatever.
Yeah,
it's not
Canada,
going to affect we're going to take care of you. Believe me, we're in this together kind of speech. And we believe it, but they were a little bit, so we had to just do it. So we went public, and then the next 2 years we proved to them that it's exactly what we did.
Yeah. It didn't hurt you. You only grew.
Yeah.
We all...
And we fed up so much of it back into the core. We started making all those movies, and all the big sponsorships and then the foundation was formed, and then
let's talk about those movies, because what is that, 110 240
we made about
Cheap and Deep, which Jay was in.
But even before that, like once you guys went public, you guys obviously started making other products. You bought Pro Light.
Well, that one was
started buying
the other part of it was we said to the guys, by the way, we're going to be able to offer you a bigger range now. We're bringing in some expertise, which with the money we have now. We can bring in people we can do shirts. We can do a whole T-shirt range. We can do hats and backpacks and all that stuff better.
Yeah.
We can do pants. We can do
Yeah.
outerwear for the winter season now.
Yeah.
With sweaters and jackets and outerwear, and they love that. And then we started fulfilling the bigger SKU destiny of Quiksilver.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about brands like yourselves is you created a category and expanded on it, and not only did you prosper from it, but all the other shops across the world.
Yeah.
Right? They had more to offer to their customers.
Well, that's why I've always preached, and whenever I lecture to my mentees, people want mentoring, I always say, before you start, make sure you have one thing that you really can hang your hat on. What is the one product that you and your partners, whatever, you've developed, designed in your mind, whatever, that's going to change the world, or something that's going to better the world, whatever it is, but one product. I look at all the great apparel companies, and they've always started with a single product.
Yeah.
Nike. You look at Izod. You look at
Levi's.
Ralph Lauren. You look at whatever it is. They have a single product that they still make today, and it's still their number one product, and they can still hang their hat on it.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always said for Quiksilver, it's board shorts. It still is today. I make every rep when they start their thing with an account, show the board shorts first, because that gives you the authority to talk about history, team riders, events, how we're doing, stories about your relationship with the board, with actual team riders. It's hilarious, great storytelling to give you the authority then to show the rest of the range. But start with board shorts, even if it's a dead of winter.
Yeah.
So,
Damn, that's good shit right there.
yeah, and in Europe, when they started Quiksilver, you can imagine in the Alps and the trade shows where everybody's got the stuff for 30 degrees below zero, and we're making board shorts, and so that really was a hard start for them because they're selling to these seaside little resorts who are open for like 3 months, and
surfing wasn't a big thing.
But then
yet, right?
the team riders came to them and started going, why don't we cut up some of this wild fabrics and make some ski gear?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a good idea. So we took our board short fabric, not waterproof, by the way, and started making those V suits and those, and they were based on the Echo Beach prints and the War Paint prints and all that. Next thing you know, all these radical guys, the best skiers, the best mono skiers, whatever, all the mountains. It's just like sort of right at the cusp of when snowboarding started. So we had one of the early guys. The guy used to have his arms like this. I forget his name. But anyway, and we'd show up and they had these outrageous suits, and people were just going, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
And so we got Carlson got really famous for making ski wear, and then we had a seasonality thing with the board shorts and ski wear, and then anyway.
So,
but that kind of tied in perfectly with the logo and just
Mountain
the
and
mantra,
Wave.
Mountain and Wave.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody. I grew up at the beach family, but we also grew up going to the river and to the mountains every summer and every winter. So I mean, it really resonated.
Yeah. Well, the original, Alan Green and the group in Torquay originally started making UGG boots. That was their original product.
that's right. Yeah.
The company is still called UGG Manufacturing.
Yeah.
And so when we bought them, we still operate that entity as UGG Manufacturing. So they started UGG boots. So then they started making board shorts because it's boiling in the summer down there in Torquay and it's freezing in the winter. So so that's where the Mountain and the Wave came from. For the two lifestyles, winter, summer. Excuse me. I'm burping
Do you need
now.
another beer? You good?
I'm gonna have one in a minute.
Yeah.
So, tell us about how it felt being a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you're building this great product, but also keeping up with the business and having to grow and having to grow your infrastructure, right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I went to business school and I graduated well. I was in the dean's list I love business school, and I love the part about business plans. I love the entrepreneurial part of it, and I love the lawyer part of it. Believe it or not, I really like business law. I thought that was very interesting, so I studied that carefully, and it's really helped for all my years of. So I had that business brain, but I'm not a CEO that's ready to go tackle a $2.5 billion company, which is what we became.
Yeah.
So my theory was always
$2.5 billion.
that was at our biggest, yeah. So when we were starting, it was easy because everybody looked at me as authority because of business school, and I could do all that. I could keep up with the spreadsheets, and then one of my first really important hires was an accountant. a CPA that could come in and sit there and do our books, and someone that I trusted, and they could give me the real numbers, and I could at least look at them. I didn't want to create them. I didn't want to go back and tabulate them and all that. But if we had a good information flow into accounting, I thought
helps
that
you
was,
make better decisions
that'd be the
moving
best
forward.
ascent, instead of just being some loosey-goosey, surfy, Spicoli trick.
Yeah.
Which is what everybody thought these businesses were.
You want
and
this
a lot of them were.
Yeah.
You want this to last, and knowing numbers will help you make educated decisions.
So thankfully, we had a really good CFO into the time when we went public. So we knew that our books were straight. We knew we were making a lot of money. We were very proud of that, and we were proud we weren't like the druggy Spicoli group, which Wall Street, of course, thought we were. And so I wanted to make sure that forever in our career, our books were transparent, legitimate, for real. So part of being public is all that and more. You got to.
You're scrutinized every which way.
Every 3 months, you got to do your quarterly report, and you have to talk to Wall Street. And then every year, you got to do your annual meeting and come forth with the numbers. And you do not want to screw around with those numbers, because it's jail time if you do.
Yeah.
And I was the CEO and the chairman throughout all of our being public. So I like I said, I'm not. David Tanner's much more of a buttoned-up CEO type than I was, but I was lucky in the early days that we slipstream up. We grew because we had the thing everybody wanted. It was very easy to be the chief of something on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. We're on fire. Everything's going great. And then we go public. And now we have the CFOs that can run our public company, give us the numbers every 3 months. We can navigate to the right numbers. And I was really proud of going to Wall Street and presenting a company in the surf industry that is public. Everybody thought it was a huge and I took it as no, this is great. Now we can show that we're legit. And this goes all the way back to my San Marino upbringing, where all it was very successful CEOs of companies that are still legendary companies in the world that they did one thing their whole life. They ran that company. They ran it well. And I aspired to be one of those. So I never wanted to hop around and start it up and get rid of it and do another thing. This is my one thing on the Ferris wheel. So I'm going to do it right. And that's why our numbers have always been legit, for real, transparent, all that. I was very proud of it. And therefore, I could go back to the accounts and be transparent with the numbers, because all they have to do is pull up the thing and read it on Wall Street and show them I'm spending in marketing.
Yeah.
Which is gigasmo more than anybody else. Trust me. And here's where it's going. And help me. I want feedback. Do you think we should do more team riders? Are these fixtures working? Do you want more window displays? Do you want more people in your stores helping you sell? And they really helped us.
But that's an underlining, you don't learn unless through experience. Now it's probably a little different, but starting a surf brand and getting that level is,
right.
You want this to be around in 5, 10, 20, 30 years, and reinvesting into that retailer, reinvesting into that marketing and that youth just brings that up. But it's easy when you're telling stories and you're telling what you've done and what you're doing. And
well, the other thing that I've always aspired to say, and I always teach people this, is that I'm only so good at what I do, but you got to surround yourself with really good people.
Yeah.
And your team is all about people.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I had the A1 best guy in all the big functions, and I just trusted them. They're like my racehorses. I'm going to pay them a lot, give them options, get them all, salaried up and everything. But you guys, the timing, what you got to do. I'm not going to police you. There's no check in and check out cards. It's but what you need to do, and I want to be number one in this industry in our field, and you got to get it done on time. And also, we're a public company, so there's reporting. So I need the numbers in. I need the stuff done. So we've always been very regimented like that. But mostly my people underneath me have done that.
Yeah, flexibility.
So I could be the king. But
Yeah.
I never really micromanage the thing.
Yeah, but flexibility and accountability are hand in hand. And if you could give them, both with incentives, and you're giving them the best option to be creative and
That's right.
and work hard. Having your own little stake in a company.
And I felt for that many years, probably until we went bankrupt, that we had a group that would run through the wall for each other.
Yeah.
And
Quiksilver?
that was just great. And people, to this day, they're doing reunions of different eras of the thing, and they always talk about that was the best time of their life, and that really makes me proud. I'm like,
that's cool.
Wow, I know it's been, especially through bankruptcy, and then Andy Mooney, and then now and then putting the two companies together and all that, rearranging the deck chairs, and now COVID. It's holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, where you guys started as giving, a local shop kid a pair of shorts, or the best surfer in that town. And the way that's carried on through the decades is still super relevant. And like you said, it's the kind of social media, and it's kind of with company budgets, and we'll speak for ourselves. It's harder and harder to even just get that pushed through, and it doesn't take much how stoked kids are to get something.
I know. Well, everybody's budgets are being squeezed now, and that gets down to the marketing budget, and then they've got to do team riders, shop kids, events, whatever, in store. All the stuff comes under marketing, so everything gets cut and diced and sliced, and then it gets squeezed more because the bosses up on top are squeezing because they're not making as much margin, and like stuff is eked into the margins. It's just so much tougher to do what we did now.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
So I would not want to be running it right now. I'm telling you, it'd be terrifying. I think that today's world is what's happening with the budgets and squeezing and all that, and it's hard to keep the employees motivated like we did because there's not enough to go around, and now there's layoffs and furloughs and all. It's just it's a horse show. So I'm glad I reigned in the time I reigned, and we were sort of at ground zero of the surf industry, and then reigned and had a great time. We launched a whole bunch of careers and brands and everything else. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
But now I see it as very tough.
But you guys had, and just going back to touch bases, you guys did that, and you did it the best, and and that, it for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
You guys,
and you're going to be around for the next 30 years.
Hopefully,
but the crew you guys have, the crew that you guys go, the amount you guys put in, whether it's a surf signing tour, whether it's a product launch, which it's just a shop regional visit, your layers of, because we know how small this industry is, and your ambassadors. People are like, oh, what do these people do? They're ambassador, and it's like, well, this is what they do, and that's kind of been lost a little bit, I feel like, in the industry, and there's a lot of disconnect between us reps in the front line and what's really going on, and they think social media can make up that portion, but it can't.
That's why I try
human contact is still.
That's why I try to get all the shows, and I try to go all the trips on the East Coast and Hawaii and the West Coast, and go with the reps and just hang out. So I have to stay relevant to do my job.
You're out there and shaking hands and kissing babies still.
Yeah. I love that part. It's my favorite part. It just gives me an excuse to tell stories.
But how long you been in this business? The people you're dealing with, a lot of them have been in the business just as long, if not longer, on some cases. Very few. But so it's not. You're just going around and, hey, I'm a new face. Like, you are the face. Like, you are the brand, and so there's a lot of history, not just with the brand, but the shops you're dealing with, and that relationship's huge.
Well, and thankfully at Board Riders, David Tanner agrees with that. That's why I'm still around, and he still likes me around, and so is Gordon, and so is Pat, and he thinks that's really, really important to create the history, the storytelling, the authenticity of the brands. Yeah, really important.
I wanted to go over a couple of the milestones of your career and business, right?
I don't think we've started any of these questions, have we?
I know we haven't.
No, we've been going through. Yeah.
When did I start surfing?
So I wanted to bring up some of the milestones of the career of your career at Quiksilver.
Yep.
Particularly, you're the first surf brand to go public, right? Which is a huge deal in itself.
Yeah.
And then tell us about, like, as the business grew, you're staffing up, and
I think going in the snow, being a surf brand went in the snow, that was a huge milestone.
Yeah.
Starting Roxy women's brand, that's a huge another milestone. I think.
But I want to talk about the first big office, because you were in that hut thing.
Quonset hut.
Yeah.
Then we went to 60 Production Place. And then we went to 18th Street, and then
Monrovia.
and then Monrovia.
Yeah,
that was kind of our bounce around. Coast
that was like the biggest building that you were in, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. So what happened? We went public, like I told you, 1988, 88, 89, 90, 91 were huge ramp up years for all of us. OP, gotcha, all that, because of Neon.
Yeah.
neon became, the thing in surf that everybody had to have on board shorts. Volley thing came in, tie-dye neon T-shirts, headbands, caps, bags. I mean, everything went neon, and nobody did the neon thing better than the surf industry.
Yeah,
in
you guys
fashion.
coined it. Yeah.
So anyway, it went nuts, and we all ramped up, and also had the public money, so we had more products in our line anyway. We had more good executives executing. We were opening up new accounts. We were on a roll. 1991, we had sort of a COVID situation inside the surf industry. We had war in Iraq, first one. We had a drought across America. You're too young to maybe you weren't even born by then, but we had war in Iraq. We had recession. We had drought. We had shark attacks all over Hawaii, West Coast and East Coast. We had the first time they started measuring the ozone layer, which we found out we didn't have one anymore. So people were getting melanoma and all that. So don't go in the sun was a huge thing about skin cancer. They also started measuring for the first time urban runoff from like big cities. And they found out exactly what we thought they'd find out. The urban runoff is awful. You could get hepatitis being in the water. People were stepping on syringe needles in New Jersey and getting AIDS. It was like the most radical time for surfing because shark attacks, don't go in the sun, don't go on the beach, don't go in the water, and
recession.
And neon died. So everybody in the industry, you can ask anybody from Michael Thompson, whatever, the whole industry got stung like a bee. And we had gone from our $18 million in sales going public to $100 million in those 3 years in sales. And we were just rolling. So then this whole thing happened and our business went right back down to 50 million like that. Whew. And most of it was lost from all the big accounts. The surf accounts weren't with us because that's what we do. That's what I do. They do, whatever.
Yeah.
But they all went away. And so we're like sitting there, just sitting on our bunker now. We've lost $50 million in sales and we're like scared to death. So we got all of our people, because we got all our people from the Quiksilvers around the world, because Greeny had launched Hackman and me. He did that kind of everywhere. So we all got together in Europe for this famous meeting that summer to kind of figure out, like, what do we do now? All of our competitors, all of them chased something weird. Gotcha went into like this whole blues thing. I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
They
tried rhythm division, right? Like
all that
kind of reggae.
Maui and Son started chasing fashion with silver fashion jackets and stuff. Anyway, everybody chased stuff. The whole hip hop thing was coming in. There was fashion, high fashion. And we decided to just be ourselves, not because we were smart. We just were too chicken shit to do anything else. We went, we'll just be smaller for a while. But we'll be fine. And it's always been my theory that, and I say this often, I'll say it here, that over half the world's population lives at or near the beach, and the other half can't wait to get there. We all know the ocean is a constant. It's always going to be there.
That's a beautiful.
There's always going to be
sentence.
a beach. There's always going to be a lifestyle at the beach. People want to go there on their vacations, the palm trees, the sand, the ocean. It's just a bitchin' place to be. So that's not going away. And when you get here, what do? They get in the water and they boogie board, they surf, they skim, whatever they do. But surfing, the beach surfing will always be a constant. So we just went, that's our concept. That we always talked about our helium balloon is in the sand. And it can blow over here and blow over here or wherever. But as long as it's always anchored in the sand, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, staying true to your identity.
And all of our other competitors, balloon, boom, gone.
Yeah.
Never come back. So we huddled and we came back with a theory about how, okay, we're going to be smaller, but our world has changed. Yeah. We still deal with a hardcore customer, but our customer now is younger. So we started boys. Started a boys kids collection. That was the first time we did boys and kids, and now it's like a $200 million thing in just Quiksilver. We went and they're younger, so we started boys. They're older, like me. I'm getting old during this period, so we started something called Q, which Q became Silver Edition and now Waterman. Started that then, younger, older. Then we went, okay, now there's this Title IX thing. The chicks, they want to get out there. They're doing sports, all the sports, and they certainly are wanting to surf, skate, and snowboard. They don't want to just watch their boyfriends do it.
And elevating their skill level and ripping.
Yeah.
So
Beyond.
yeah.
But back then, we got to be in the chicks business. And everybody thought, oh, God, that's a kiss of death. You'll never pull that. Whatever. What the fuck? We've pulled off all these other firsts, like you talked about. Going public, first retail store, all these things that they all hated us for. Well, now we're going to do chicks. So we started Roxy. And you know the story about Roxy. And then we said, okay, now we're older, younger, male, female. We bought the Raisins Company to help execute Roxy properly. So now we're in swimwear and women. Then we decided, we had a little bit of a ski line I told you about in Europe, doing the V suits and all that. But skiing was now out. Snowboarding's in. So we shit-canned like a $2 million ski business, and we started a snowboarding business. And to do that, we started building the gear. And we had all that great team at the time, from Sean Palmer to all the guys, all the boys, which Danny put together. We started making ski movies. We put ski and snowboard together to make it so it's cool. We bought LibTech, so now we can be legit in the snow, because now we have a legit snowboard brand, kind of like off the radar, kind of outrageous themselves, a little bit, radical. So now we can have reps on the road year round doing Quiksilver Snow and Rip Curl. And LibTech, excuse me. And so they were on the road year round, and we could go to the trade shows and have a bigger booth because we could have all, so it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So now we're in both seasons legitimately, and definitely in outerwear. So now we can do outerwear with snowboarding coming in and LibTech. And then we went, okay, we want to be, so now we're getting diversified. We're diversified, younger, older, male, female, snow, winter, summer. Now, and then we went and bought Quiksilver Europe, who was floundering because they didn't have the big ramp up. They just kind of ramped up, and then they got stuck, and they were all about selling stuff and not about making money because they had no business manager in there. So we were able to buy them quite cheaply, and they needed the sport, otherwise they were going to go away. So we bought them, which was another $50 million of sales. So now we're right back to $100 million, but still core. Younger, older, male, female, winter, summer, geographically diversified, and we also started our first retail store in Waikiki. And
Jake Mizuno?
Jake Mizuno was not in the first one, but with a couple lawyers, and it was called, we gave the name, Danny and I made this up over a beer, call it Board Riders Club, because they're lawyers. If we give them Quiksilver and put it on the store, they may steal that name for retail. So we want to stay back to my business law thing. So let's make up a name. Board Riders Club. It's like the Outrigger Canoe Club. It's Bitchem. How they did it.
Yeah.
So this Board Riders Club, and it was 1,000 square feet, which is however big it is, and it sold like $10 million in the first year.
Wow.
We're going, holy
Just
shit.
Quiksilver and Roxy, or
Just all your
Quiksilver.
brands.
Just
Wow.
Quiksilver. And just what we had in Quiksilver. So we went, okay, well, maybe we can do this retail thing, because we were really pissed off that the outside of surf shops, where you have the benefit of surfboards, fins and leashes and wax and the smell and all that, when you get out to a Pack Somewhere or two, wherever, they have no idea how we want to look. How do you present Quiksilver or anything else, by the way? So we had Steve Jones and Schroff set up this thing about as big as your living room here in the back of Quiksilver. It would have been production 18th Street.
Yeah, they'll now stylized.
Yeah, we set it up back there, and we started playing with it, and that's where they came up with the yellow wood. Remember the blonde wood and all the pictures and all that stuff. And then we launched
it's like mid-century Hawaiian style.
Yeah, we launched the Waikiki store, and then that gave us the impetus then to open up 10 more, like the one in Seal Beach, and what's his name, Missy and Scott.
In-flight.
Yeah. Then we did one in Laguna.
But wasn't
we did one in Santa Cruz.
Huntington Surf and Sport is the second one?
No. That came a little bit later.
Okay.
But anyway, so Board Riders Club. So now we're actually wholesale and retail. It was way before e-commerce. We couldn't have that, but we have wholesale, retail, wholesale and retail. So now we're very much diversified, but we're the same company, and we have multiple brands because we had Quiksilver, Roxy, Q. So that really became the manifesto of our company today.
Yeah.
And that's where it started, and why it started, and how it started. So now we believe we can own brands that are in the same like field, and because we know that girl and guy, younger, older, whatever, male, female, and so we're really good at that. So why get into anything else? That's how we've always been. Now where it went wrong is Rossignol, because we were in the surf, and we're the biggest cat in the cat house in Quiksilver. And we got to grow, so we can't keep just pushing more and more goods out to the same. So we decided that the closest thing to us was the outdoor wear, outdoor world, which is still relevant.
Yeah.
So early days, we found Rossignol, was a great ski brand, but the whole story. Bought it, and it was great for a couple of years. Then the '08 hit, and the whole thing went down the toilet. We had to get rid of it, and that became the big debt, which eventually led to the bankruptcy. But what we're still now that we're out of bankruptcy, it's still the same theory of the company. That's why we got together with the Billabong brand. Same deal. It's like we do that. We know this space. I know it, but the new people know it much better than me now.
But
so
I mean, Rossignol was that, that one brand that, I mean, obviously was a huge detriment to the brand. But you bought DC early,
that too.
and that made Quiksilver and that family a ton of money.
Exactly right. Well, that was part of the same theory.
You bought what else? I mean, you guys.
Well, we started VSTR, which became Mountaineer, basically. Yeah. We started another thing called Fidra, which was a golf line. We had Ernie Els as our guy, and that when had Cleveland come into the deal with Rossignol, so Cleveland and Fidra got together, and they did a bunch of great business for a while. We were in golf. So, I don't know. It's been an amazing lineage, ascent, whatever. But that thing that happened in 91 really changed the whole course of our company.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about a couple things. Kelly Slater.
Yes.
And his effect on Quiksilver success.
Well, you can't talk about Quiksilver without talking about Kelly Slater.
Yeah.
So he's one of my truly great friends. We did the wave pool thing together. I think you know that. But so first time I met him was at a Surf Expo show, and he came up. Matt Keckley brought him by with somebody else, one of his surfboard makers.
How old?
How old was he? Like 14?
Oh, he was probably 12, 13 or something like that. And he's this little dark skin, piercing blue-green eyes, and hair looked like he just got out of the water, and he just tanned. I remember that, just that deep dark skin color. There's like, I think
no sunblock.
September show, whatever, and he comes up. Matt Keckley brings him up. And he goes, "This is going to be the next Tom Curran." And I look at him. I go, "Really?
Yeah.
How many times have we heard this before?" Kind of thing. And,
today, yeah.
And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he didn't really speak. I mean, he probably was polite, but he just shy and didn't really say anything. So, and then we keep seeing him at Surf Expos. He keeps coming up, and then all of a sudden it's time for him to sign. I think it was the OP for a long time.
Yeah.
He's ready to sign.
OP was part of the
Sunday.
national
Yeah, that's
team.
right.
So
the national
if
team
you signed with the national team, you kind of were forced to ride for their sponsors.
Yeah.
So it came up time for him to go pro and to get a sponsorship. So, Quack's kind of in charge, and Bruce Raymond and all that, and they're looking at him, and they're thinking, okay, maybe, but we don't have that kind of dough.
Was there a price war going at that time?
So we offered him whatever it was, and it was before Terry Hardy was
his manager.
He's another guy. I forget his name right now. Think of it in a minute. And the guy, I think, and I'm going to have these numbers wrong, but we put like a $75,000 offer out there or something like that per year, and OP came back with like $250 or something like that.
Holy shit!
So we made it as, well, we're out. Danny, forget it. And then the little criminal mind he is, Danny just kept, because we knew that Kelly did not want to sign with OP.
Yeah.
So he put
a package together.
I was going to think of the agent's name, and I can't. But
is it Brian
told
Taylor?
Brian Taylor.
Yes.
He told Brian Taylor, "I do not want to be with OP, so I want to be with Quiksilver. I don't care if it takes less, but do the best deal you can for me, and I'm in."
Yeah.
So Danny went back to the drawing board against all of us at the highest level, saying, "No, stop. We're not into this kid anymore."
Yeah.
And basically signed him up for it's like $125,000 or something. But the numbers I have a little bit wrong. But it was something like way below OP, but way above what we authorized Danny to do.
Yeah.
And we were gonna fucking kill him. Couldn't believe it. Like, you little brat. Fuck.
He saw, yeah.
And but so Kelly came on, and then Wooly was there, and so we immediately made the movie black and white when he kind of inaugurated him into the team, and then his ascent. We've been all part of every inch of it, from all the girlfriends. I've had him so many times crying out right here with his head, crying on my shoulder about Pamela Anderson and about this and about that.
Well, he's been open about how you've been a mentor and a father figure, and how you've helped him through relationships, even public speaking, and how to handle the media, and how to be accessible, and it's not only going to benefit us as a brand, but you know.
Yeah. So he and I have
that.
been like, I've been sort of like his second father, whatever. So we've been through a lot, and it's all been great, and the ups and downs, the goods, bads, the uglies, and there's been all of it. You know, some of the big ones were his leaving the tour that one year when he decided to just get off the tour.
After winning 5 straight or something.
And he thought we were just going to be a gasp.
So let's talk about
that was bigger than him asking you about what to do with his fading four line.
So tell us about that first world title. He was like 20 years old, right?
18.
For me, all the
I think 19 or 20.
They're kind of all a blur because, honestly, the way I approach team riders is that I look at them for like, they got to be fairly good looking because they got to sell clothes.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, they have to have a really good personality that we want to hang out with, go on a boat trip with, hang out with a Tavro, whatever, for a week, be stuck with them for a little while. They got to have a certain level of performance, obviously, but honest to God, we've never worried about world titles. That's meaningless for me and for our crew, because as long as they're out there ripping, smiling,
good
talking story, being an ambassador, doing the right thing, not being drug addict, drug dealers, not, doing
a robo athlete that just goes like this and doesn't want to show.
Exactly. We don't, and we've had them all. I mean, we would have had what's his name?
You've had them all.
No, but the funniest one we had, God, I can't think of his name right. Billabong forever. He just retired. Oh God,
dude, Billabong forever just retired.
Aki?
No, not him, but the other
Taj?
One. Taj Burrow was a Quiksilver rider.
I think I remember
for a
that.
minute.
Yeah.
And then he went on a boat trip. And he was like totally like, wouldn't talk to anybody, hanging out by himself, reading books. And Ross Clark Jones, Martin Potter, all the boy, Tom Carroll, all of them just, fuck this little shit. And they got hold of him one night.
He's not going to do gainers off the top mass and freaking.
No, and he's not drinking with the boys and surfing with the boys and staying up all night and playing cards. He just was not, he's like, in that, it's not our guy.
Yeah.
So they took him. And
Is that The Hole? That movie, The Hole?
No, I don't remember which one he's in, but they actually kidnapped him in the middle of the night, put him on the table in the
Dude,
Indie Trader.
Yeah.
On the table, duct taped him to the thing, and shaved his eyebrows. Messed with him all night, just fucked with him, and then untied him and sent him to bed. And
fired.
And that was the night when they were all coming in. So they came in and they got to the dock, and by the time they got to the dock, Taj had packed up boards. The second the rope went down, boom, he's gone to the airport, out.
Wow.
And no more team rider. Guess what?
Dude, I think that was the whole. I think Strider was on that trip.
He probably was.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
it's
is
so
awesome.
classic. But anyway, I think that you have a certain vibe in your company, and we wanted guys that fit our vibe. And Gotcha had their vibe at the time.
Yeah.
And certainly Ruka has their vibe,
Yeah.
and it's a spirit. I think that's important to the culture and the DNA of the brand.
Yeah.
So we always wanted, like I said, those three or four things were really important to us, but not world titles. When he started winning titles, like, this is
That was icing on the
amazing.
cake.
Amazing. The guy's insane, and he for sure is like above, shoulders and above anybody surfing right now.
Yeah.
But he
Still.
but he wasn't just winning titles. He was having the best movie parts in every video. He was showing up to every signing for 8 hours straight if he had to.
Yeah, and he was friends with all of them. He wasn't being ostracized by anybody, and he didn't do drugs, and didn't drink, and didn't party, and they still loved him. They still embraced him.
Baywatch.
I know.
At the
Talking about some career enders.
well, no, not really.
Well, I know,
that
but
could have
at that
been-
time, whenever he thought of him of that thing,
Like that's
you know?
getting in your career.
Yeah, that was going like us going public. Same sort of deal.
But that catapulted
I know.
the brand,
I know.
right? Like how much did that help bring that to mainstream America?
It's
Right?
crazy, yeah. So anyway, then he just kept winning them and winning. So they're all sort of a blur. But when he actually told us that he's going to get off the tour, he thought we'd be a gasp. And we kind of went, no, Kelly, we're into you because you're you are who you are. You're Kelly Slater, and you're really important to the company, and we're growing sales like crazy. And you have your signature board shorts that are off the charts. And just be you. We don't care what. But you know what we can do. We can do trips with you. Do you mind doing? And then we do the whole crossing thing and trips and photography. And we made him a bigger person through all that than if he'd just been on tour. And I think he wanted to grow up also and get off the Ferris wheel of just going on the tour every year.
Yeah.
And then, the other great one was when we all went to Puerto Rico for his 10th title. And that was an amazing trip for a bunch of reasons. But we got there, and he, the first few rounds were gone through, and he went through the first few rounds. So now we all knew we had to hang out till the end because this could be it. And then the surf went sort of flat. So we had a week of traveling around, and there was a whole big group there from the Jake Burton to, the body surfer guy, Mark Cunningham to Sal Masakela to every Strider. We're all there to see Kelly get his 10th title. But we have a week off, so we all start doing these surf trips all around the island. We all follow each other. We'd show up and we'd surf and take over the spot. And that trip was in my memory, was so magical. Yeah. And then Kelly and Terry found some dogs. And they adopted them and they brought them over. That was magical. And then. And we had this, at that time, it wasn't Instagram, but the photo thing before that, where you shook the camera.
I don't remember.
It was a photo app, one of the first ones on Apple. And we had this contest amongst all of us. Everybody puts $100 in, and we're going to vote at the end who's got the best picture. And then that person wins the whole pool. So we're all taking Hipstamatic. So we're taking Hipstamatic photos everywhere and doctoring them up. And it was so fun. And then right at the end of it, Andy Irons dies. Right?
So gnarly.
And I'm the guy that delivered the news to Kelly.
Oh, no
We'd
way.
been surfing the spot. We had the best surf, and we come in, and my phone was ringing. So I picked up the phone, and it was somebody, hey, we know you're down there with Kelly. You got to get a hold of Kelly and tell him that Andy just died. And I go, oh, my God, you're kidding. They told me the story. So just sit on the beach, and Kelly's coming in. He's all excited. He's had a great surf. He's got this new board that's just like a magic carpet. And I go, Kelly, Andy, he just died. And Kelly I could just see it in his whole being. Yeah. Just go from like on top of the world to like so
bittersweet.
Bitter.
Right.
So I after all the media and all the I realize now that feeling about them was true. I mean they really did have a relationship, even though it was fraught with anger and lust and craziness, but they deeply inside they respected each other to the bone.
They pushed each other
to higher levels. Then we all got back to the camp that night, and then everybody was handling it differently. And the guy that handled it the worst was, of course, Freddie Patacci, and we bought a bunch of food, and we just had everybody around just to hug and cry and drink, and everybody's getting drunk and stoned and whatever they're doing, and Freddie's just, oh my God, that was one of the worst nights of my life, just hugging Freddie like all night, just trying to console, because he was just so down and out and bummed, and it was horrible.
Yeah, because all of those guys were so tight, and everybody's looking out for him, and everybody knew the struggles, and everybody knew, but like, I think everybody was just caught off guard and shocked, and I mean, devastated for sure.
And then with the last one I was around was the one up in Ocean Beach.
When he won it,
but didn't win it. That whole deal. And then the night in between, we all went and bowled because that's what he wanted to do. We said, well, hey, Dan, let's all go to dinner. I want to go bowling. Like, it's just like so Kelly. Like, all right. So everybody showed up for this big bowling event. It was hilarious.
Not to be a downer. So what happened when he left? Like, how did that go down?
I would say that Kelly was in a space in his life where he was really thinking about other stuff. So we did part of the deal before his contract came up. His contract was up, and each there's like a 10-year deal, and it was like 3 years almost up. And so one of the things that we're all of a sudden laying the feather bed so that we can keep him. And so he was really insistent on. He hated when we designed a board short for him. He wanted to design his own board short. And I think, as you know, probably because now you're without or known, but he's very hard to get a hold of, very hard to have, tie down, to have him work on stuff. He's always got a million things going. He's on his phone. He's just
stretched thin.
Yeah, stretched thin. So we used to get really frustrated. So we'd have our designers design unbelievable, great board show. We knew we'd sell bazillions. Then he designed something that was like, so we'd stick it in the line just because he wanted it. But he said, when you're free surfing, you can wear this one. When you're in the contest, wear that. And but he didn't like that. He wanted to wanted to be in charge. One of them, I remember, he had like all compasses and latitudes and longitudes, and it was the weirdest short ever. And we sold probably 3, and 2 of them to his brothers probably. But he, and then we designed one that would sell like 200,000. But he was getting a little bit antsy about having his own stuff and not being so tied into Quiksilver. That's why
he ever asked for equity or part?
No, he had tons of equity in Quiksilver. He had options up to yin yang. He made millions out of Quiksilver through that. So, but he was just struggling with
identity crisis.
He's struggling, and so he did the perps thing, kind of. I don't know whether it was then or a little bit later, but he just wanted to do shit and kind of like do a jailbreak a little bit. And so what gave him so we're right in the contract term now, getting ready, and we're all laying the foundation of what. Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, we did VSTR for him, and VSTR was great, but it wasn't 100,000% sustainable. It was as best we could do at the time,
right?
But it was very expensive, so it didn't sell very well. So we were struggling with how do we make this thing sustainable but satisfy Kelly? And then these idiots from New York sued us over the name. Maybe do you remember that?
I don't.
Okay, so it got into a legal battle where these basically just
already.
mafioso Garmento pricks from New Jersey, like the bad side of town, sued us for the name because they owned the name Visitor. Okay, and Kelly wanted to call, and this all came out in court, so it's nothing I'm hiding, but Kelly always wanted to call it Visitor, but we tried to register it and found these guys. So we actually approached them about buying it, and they said, "No way, we're this, we're that." Whatever. So we went, okay, well. So then we decided, we huddled, we went, okay, let's just go VSTR, because let's just do that. Fuck them. So we did VSTR, and sooner or later they sued us. So we got in this big court battle, and Kelly was a key witness. So we had to all do these depositions. So Kelly was went into his deposition. He just hated this whole thing because he's, anti-government, anti-control, anti-whatever. So he just starts being like a prick in the deposition. But no, it's funny. We all laugh, and I laughed at the time. But in court, the prick deposition came back to kill us because it just proved to the jury that he actually wanted Visitor, and instead did this fake thing over here. And everybody knows it really stands for Visitor, but we made up something like stands for Visiting Sustainable Travel. Whatever. We made all these things up, like RUCA.
Yeah.
What the fuck does it stand for?
Yeah.
But it became like this big court thing, and then Kelly would never show up. So I'm in the court battling this thing, and because we thought they would roll over and it was a joke, we kind of had I'll call it our B team of lawyers on it. And these guys, before the court thing even started, the judge encouraged me and them in the same room. You guys should go in a huddle real quick and see if you can solve this, because this is stupid. There should be a live and let shit live agreement.
Yeah.
And they were using it as an inside badge, not on the outside. We're using it as like a brand, so it's very different. And we're gonna put VSTR. We agreed to put VSTR, Kelly Slater. I mean, all these things that we could do. And so the judge was encouraged. So we get in this room, and these guys, like I told you, they're badass. And the guy looked at me and said, "All right, well, there's one of two ways this is gonna go." Goes, if you're gonna win the trial, and then we're gonna appeal, or you're gonna win the trial and we're gonna appeal. So this is gonna be here for a long time.
Wow.
So, and by the way, you wait till we know how you guys operate. He goes, we have a few people out here that know how to operate New Jersey style out here in California. So if anything comes out bad about our company and that, you might be visited by a few New Jersey surfers you never wanted to meet.
Wow.
And then especially when you come out our way, we're gonna show you how to surf New Jersey style.
You're like, all this drama.
So you pretty much dropped it.
So I left. I said, well, okay, well, you're right. We're gonna go through this, and we're gonna probably go, and it's gonna appeal, whatever. But so I go out and I tell my guy, my law team, and I said, what should we do? And they're basically like, uh-oh,
It's
disconnect.
We're good.
I said, "What? I mean, they just basically threatened me." And the guys go, "Oh, we're going to win this case, so don't even worry about it. Just let it go." So my theory was to go in and tell the judge and get a mistrial, just like that.
Yeah.
And there's some other stuff they said too. I can't remember, but it was like really radical. And so we went through the trial and we lost.
Damn.
Because a lot of reasons we lost, but lost because we did try to buy it. That was a bad piece of evidence. Kelly was a brat in the deposition. And so anyway, we lost VSTR. So we basically just stopped it immediately and gave them all the trademarks. We didn't care anymore. We're just done. We don't want to.
Yeah.
And they I think they won a huge like $700,000 or something.
Fuck.
But a few days later, like a year later, we went into bankruptcy, so they never got a dime, which is good. One of the good things that came out of bankruptcy. But anyway, so Kelly wanted that. We did it for him, and it didn't work. So now he's like kind of distraught. And we're going, hey, well, we tried, Kelly. It just didn't work. And this, we know how back then, when we first started, everybody was talking how they want to save the planet, sustainability, whatever, but they weren't willing to pay for it with their pocketbook.
Right.
So we were doing all this stuff, and it was a little more expensive. We just couldn't get it going. So he said, if we do it again, it's going to be the same thing. So in the end, though, Pierre was trying to like not revitalize VSTR, but revitalize another name, brand, whatever, with Kelly. And then we had Andy Mooney come in. And Andy Mooney he could care less about team riders, let alone our number one guy. And his theory was, as soon as you stop competing, you're no longer valuable to the company and you're worthless. Because he came from Nike, and that's basically how they treat their athletes. So Kelly comes in his first day I'll never forget this as long as I live, to meet Andy Mooney. So I'm in the room with I think it was Pinhead, Charlie Exxon, Kelly, and me. And we're just rapping out, talking about future and the contract, and here's what we need to button up, and this is going to be great, Kelly. And we'd actually agreed at that point to, Kelly, we know you want to do this, and we're not interested because of the bad taste we have in our mouth, but you can go do it. We'll reduce your contract. We'll sign up for another 5 years. We'll reduce it. I think it was like $1 million a year. So we'll reduce it down to $500,000 or something like that. And we'll have one Quiksilver logo on the thing when you surf in your events and free surf, whatever. And you can start your other brand because it's going to be a high end, more of a fashion brand, which is how Outerknown started. And it's going to be a little more expensive and all sustainable. Go ahead and start it. We don't care.
Yeah.
And you can put that logo on the board too. I don't care. When you compete, you're with Quiksilver. When you're out grooving around and in your lifestyle, you can be whatever. So we had it all buttoned up, and he was totally agreed to it. And then all of a sudden we go, Andy Mooney walks by. Hey, Andy, come on in to meet Kelly Slater. So he sits down, and like he is and like he was just a total dick to Kelly. He goes, well, as you know, we don't value athletes that much anymore, and we're going to get rid of a whole bunch of them anyway because I'm doing some cuts, and I'm bringing in new marketing guys, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're just da-da-da-da-da, and he just goes, but, hey, nice to meet you, and he walks out.
Wow.
Shuts the door, and Kelly just goes,
I'm out of here.
well, that's interesting. That didn't go very well, did it? And I go, nope. And I could
That
just
is
see it in his
heavy.
eyes like, no fucking way am I going to work for that guy. So we kept trying, and then I never forget when it actually happened. It was right at the start of the tour, whatever year that was, because he'd made his decision, but he hadn't told me yet. So but he needed to make the decision because the next day he's going to be in a heat, start of the new season, and he wanted to have his logo off the board.
Yeah.
So he calls me, and I'm on a snowboard trip up with Strider. All the boys are there, Strider, all that. We're all up there up at in Canada on a helicopter trip. And he calls me, hey, Kelly, what's going on? So how do you want to do this? I know you got to blah, blah, blah. And he goes, Bob, how do I begin? But let me just tell you, I'm not going to ride for Quiksilver anymore. I'm just like, oh, fuck.
Broke up
But you
with on
kind
the
of knew
phone.
in the back of your mind.
He
that-
broke up with you on the phone, though?
On the phone.
Yeah,
Oh, my God, that's so rotten.
Dick.
No, but he had to. And he's in Western Australia, and he's got to tell me. And then he goes, but let me just... I want to get Terry Hardy in on the call because I want to tell you. And I said Terry Hardy was just like his buffer to
Yeah.
But we talked for probably 45 minutes on the phone. We're both crying over the phone and hugging each other over the phone, whatever. But I kind of knew, and I kind of got it. I said,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? But then he goes into but what happened is that Kering has offered to do this new line I want to do, and they want to sponsor me. And the bad part is there's going to be, I'm going to have wear some Volcom stuff because it's part of the Karen. I said, oh my God, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So tomorrow you're going to be in a Volcom logo. So I've worked out, there's going to be no logo. It's not going to be Quiksilver logo off, Volcom logo on. But I am in their family because, that's right, they were going to do the line. But it's Caring was going to finance the big Hollywood line, but they said part of the deal is you can't be with Quiksilver anymore. If you're going to do surf stuff, you got to be in one of our family of brands, which was Volcom or their shoe line of the shoe line Puma. So Kelly shows up to the first event, no logos on his board, and then he did some press on it and eloquently broke up with Quiksilver. Been a great career. He said all the great stuff, which is great. And then, but we had to respond also. So we mirrored that's what Terry Hardy was there to do, to mirror the press releases and all go out eloquently. And then he just wore no logos for a while. Then he started wearing some Vulcan board shorts. He had some of their electric eyewear. And we started creeping him. And Pierre and I were both just distraught.
Yeah.
I mean, we cried so many times over the phone over this, you can't imagine. We kept trying to talk him.
Here's your son that rode for you for
I know. It was very, very tough. But, thankfully.
And he's wearing stuff that doesn't even fit his, MO.
But Kelly and I, we had something that, a lot of people don't know, is we had the project of the wave pool together. That Matt Keckley found the science and then introduced it to Kelly. Kelly introduced it to me, and we all went to Orlando and met with this crazy Orlando, Florida Tiger King type person. Swear to God, when I see that show, I think of this guy. He was nuts, and he had all these fake swans and flamingos out in his front yard. Oh God, his house was a museum of kitsch crap. Every oddball bad thing you've ever seen in your life was in his house. No, he was a mad scientist.
Yeah.
So he had this idea about a paddle thing that goes around in a circle that makes this perfect wave. And he had a little teeny thing about a big as our table and he had this big paddle in this pool that he'd push across and show how it pushed the wave. And Kelly and Matt were starstruck. They wanted to show me, the businessman, what I thought. I was smitten, and this other guy kept telling us, it's the future, it's the future, it's the future. So
you're kidding me.
So Kelly and I brought this little wave pool thing out to California, and we got I don't know, whatever year it was 12 years ago, 13 years ago now. Got the whole surf industry together at the Ocean Institute to introduce this thing. We showed them the paddle thing, and Kelly got up there and made a speech. I made a speech. The scientist was there. And we were trying to get it so it wasn't a Quiksilver thing. We wanted it to be a surf industry thing, a Switzerland thing. This is good for everybody. If we have surf pools, indoor, outdoor, whatever, all around the world, this could be a huge place to sell product. They all loved it, but nobody had any dough and everything. So we took it. I wrote a grant to USC School of Engineering, back to my USC days, and we put this science in the School of Engineering under a class, Kelly Slater Wave Pool. And everybody signed up for the class because they all wanted to work on this project if you're in engineering school. So sold out, overprescribed. And in that, the scientist, Adam Fincham, who is still the scientist today, was working at USC. I think he still does some work with USC, but he glommed onto it. He loved the whole thing. Him and Kelly got along, the mad scientists together. They started building this science out of this paddle thing at SC for about 2 full years, grant every semester. And then finally, the president of USC called me and said, hey, Bob, you got to get this thing out of here because otherwise we're going to claim the patents on it. So we had to go down there in the middle of the night and take all the gear out, everything we had, and move it up to Culver City, which is where it incubated for 8, 9, 10 years. I don't know. It was there while the scientists, Adam Fincham and Noah Granote and all those people worked on it night and day. And it was it was no bigger than the footprint of this house, the little thing. And they had a big pool of water outside. They could draw the water in and out because they had to keep emptying the pool. But Adam figured out right away that we'll keep it a circle for right now, but it can't be the paddle thing. It just doesn't work. So he's the one that came up with the big keel and running a circular keel that would make the waves just go 2 waves in the pool, one after another. And so the pool, El Segundo, or the
Lemoore?
No, the one up in L.A., just said the name of the place. Now I'm losing it. Culver City was all about just refining the science and measuring every inch of it. And the wave was about this big, going around in a circle. But the keel, the way that was placed and canted, and how big it was, and then this whole lazy river started. So to figure out with the bubbles underneath and the guttering, how to get rid of the lazy river, and so all that was done in a test facility up in Culver City for like 8 years, and that's when.
Who was funding it?
So all of us were. He had a whole bunch of little people. Even Fernando from Reef was in on it for a while. We had Alfio, who ran our businesses in Brazil. All these little guys were in to fund it. And then finally, I got, through a friend of mine at LA Country Club, Schwab, to come in and look at it. I'm trying to think of the kid's name now. But so the Schwab family got involved. Charles Schwab, the big Schwab company, but his son, I'll think of it in a second. I'm kind of losing it here. But the Schwab kid come in, and he was really into it because he's a surfer. So they started funding it big time. So then the other guy, he's from Encinitas.
Zach.
Jeff Bezak. Sorry, thank you. Jeff Bezak came in, and he became a wonderful friend of all of ours. And he wanted to get it out of the test tank and get it in the ground. Yeah. Which all these things, we had enough science, we've had enough measurements. Yeah. So he's a world champion water skier in his years, and so he knew these spots up in Central California where they're water ski lakes, where people they own the lakes and they train water skiing, jumping, slalom, all that stuff, and wakeboarding, all that stuff. So he went up there and he found that spot in Lemoore, which the wind is blowing offshore on the keel when it goes on the right. And it's near a grid for power, the whole solar thing, which was a fantasy at the time. Water that's the two lakes share an estuary, so they can drain it if they need to and fill it back up if they need to. And it was usually calm during the morning and a little bit windy in the afternoon, but it could be offshore wind. There's a hotel there, the Tachi Hotel, and there's a small private airstrip. So it had all this, and it was really cheap land. Like they bought it for like $50,000 or something. So that's why they settled on Lemoore. And they put it in the ground, launched it, and the rest is history.
But you were at that very first...
No, I was in it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
All the way till into the ground and all that. All the way till WSL bought it.
But it was Matt Keckley, you, and Kelly, where Kelly got the...
We were the three people that founded it.
We're going to make this work.
Yeah, so I had that. So I have that other 12 years beyond his career with Quiksilver with that whole thing. And it was wonderful. I mean, working on that project. And, and then we were the early guys to ride it, and we were the laboratory rats up in the pool, launching the keel at various speeds and various cants. And
the first wave was November of 2015, right?
I want to say it was January, but you could have, I don't know. It was in the winter for sure because it was freezing cold.
When we first saw it, that footage leakage where he's like sitting there, the water's all brown, and then...
Well, remember at the same time when somebody won the tour and they thought they took all of his recognition away.
Yeah.
So when do you win the tour?
Adriano.
So it was in December then?
It was December, yeah. Okay. Adriano won the world tour.
Fuck you, Kelly.
And then the day after.
Took all my glow away. Damn you.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my God. But anyway, so we were up there in the early days, and it was a really fun group that used to go. We'd be up there, and we'd test the pool and test the different keels and power, and the thing would break every 5 minutes. They have to shut it down and recanter the whole thing. And one time, Bezak had to fly some part in because we're all there and fly it in overnight and read. It was those early few months of surfing it until the early where they didn't have filtration, they didn't have any kind of guttering for the lazy river thing. Because it's really easy. They found out it's really easy to make that wave. It's really hard to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So it'd break, and then the aftermath was like
Splash
a tsunami, man. It would fucking roll you and almost drown you, and we'd all be laughing. Oh my God!
Yeah.
And then it would beat into the far wall and launch over the top, and it would rip all the netting out. They had no idea when you start moving that kind of water around what happens from the little test tank to the full blown model.
Right.
So they shut it down after call it 8 months or whatever of testing it, and then that's when they took out a year off, and then they put the guttering in that you see now. Yeah. They put more netting, more refined netting, the new things up on top that control the wires, and they put the left, making a right and a left, and they configured the bottom differently. They did all kinds of stuff after the early experimentation, and
which is needed after you need to test it.
And somewhere along the way, WSL bought it and bought us all out, except for Kelly and Michael Schwab. And
How much do you think it cost?
cost? Did they pay? I'm really not allowed to tell.
Oh, you know.
I promise. I'm like under. But
Contract.
it was a big amount. One where we all. How much?
Not
oh,
the payout.
All right.
How much did it?
Okay, so
Cost to produce
probably
this?
that pool up there. There's easily 20 million in it.
Yeah.
I would say.
So it's not that much.
Yeah, when you start thinking about 20 million, and then you have to monetize it
Yeah.
by your staff, and it's you can't just even a billionaire can't build one in his backyard and then push play and go out and surf.
True.
You need somebody to run the computer, and now they have like 3 guys. You need by law lifeguards, 3 lifeguards plus a jet ski in the water. Then you have to have the engineers running around fixing and readjusting and recalibrating. So and then whatever staff you have for the food and beverage or whatever. It's a full-on staff.
It's an amusement park.
Yeah, and you can't just hire cheap. They have to be trained and up to speed and part of the deal.
Yeah.
That's why they have Raymana there, because he's Captain Wavepool now.
So you're a businessman and you know cost and P&L. Is $50K if is that profitable if it's booked every single day?
The $50K makes it, per day profitable for sure. Okay, so if they do a season of 50 grands, they can't do it year round because it's really cold in the winter, and they have to shut it down for a while to maintenance and whatever. But
I think they shut it down.
so
end
I
of
think the
December to
actual
January.
running of the pool forget the investment, the 20 mil or whatever the investment is. It's sustainable for running the pool and generating cash flow out of the pool. Will it ever pay the 20 million back? I doubt it.
Yeah.
But that one is their test case to go sell more.
Yeah.
For investors to plop down the 20 million and then guess what? Build a hotel or townhomes or whatever around it, which they will garner some of that money, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's their whole idea.
Yeah, it's like building a golf course or building a casino. Like you need to have a draw.
Yeah.
And then.
So the breakup with Kelly wasn't that bad.
You know what? We personally never really broke up. He came out to Pine Valley with me in New Jersey last year. We played golf together. And we had a big drinking night, and we cried and we laughed and we told stories. And when we see each other, it's just like nothing's ever happened. But
cool.
I think it was the right thing for him. Now he's off. He's got his great businesses with the Waypool and Firewire and Outerknown and all these things, which I think it's so great that he's got his little world that he is the king of, and he always wanted to be that. He always resisted like being controlled and having to do, show up at a surf trip or show up to work on the board short or go to this photo shoot. He didn't like it. We had this giant thing. We rented G-Land for I think 2 weeks and took our whole team to G-Land. Rented it. Nobody else could be there for 2 weeks. Prime time, and everybody came. I'll show you pictures. We had 100 team riders. Only guy didn't show up, Kelly Slater.
He didn't show up?
No. Just, not my deal. I don't really want it. It's like, Kelly, this will be amazing. You get G-Land all to yourself.
Fudge.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sign anybody up, right? Oh, my God.
Well, it's good. It's good to see, like you said, somebody in the industry wants his own and put back in. And
you know what? What he's done is amazing, man. I love it. He's his own business manager. Well, he's got Bizak, of course, but he watches over him. He's very interested in those things.
Yeah.
He's not interested in a lot of stuff, and he's very clear about that. But on the things that he's got his skin in the game, like Outerknown, like his surfboard, Firewire, and the Wavepool. Those are the 3 things that he will spend most of his time on. And I don't know this whole thing about going back on tour and trying to win or not win, or just maybe he's just having a round the world tour one more time, or maybe he just wants to get out of the house. Maybe he can't get off competing. We all, everybody, including Kelly, we've always talked about your biggest problem is going to be the downside of not competing, not being the guy. Because now it's John, whoever it is, but and he's.
But I think that's
he struggles with that.
Any professional athlete,
for sure.
And I speak for myself, like coming off and having to get a real job and grind it out and work. It's tough. Not that Kelly has to do that, but usually those other businesses will take and incentivize you and bring you that joy of winning and stimulate you.
As long as he wants to do it, I tell him just keep doing it, man. If that gives you joy and love,
but speaking of John, you just brought his name up. I mean, that guy just walked away from a huge contract, and I mean he probably saw a writing on the wall of where the direction of Hurley was going, and maybe didn't want to be a part of it, and
I would think
vision?
so. I mean, when we heard that, the news is on that, and it's always been a weird thing for me, Hurley, about the way they operate and the way they buy their real estate and stores, and got the big Nike engine behind it, but Nike really never showed too much support. It's just the whole thing's been odd to me.
It really screwed up the industry for sure.
And then
it was good for those that were able to reward
Yeah.
for that period of time. And hey, we all want our friends and peers to be successful and make money, but the aftermath is prior to this COVID was the fallout of the industry and Nike pulling out and the curve that it set and the trajectory of like
salaries.
Well, we always
and it's going to hurt the surf shops.
Expectations.
we always
It's gonna hurt
question the financials of Hurley
Yeah.
because we know they're spending a ton on everything and not making any money. And so they had Nike, they had Big Daddy to fund them. But we always thought, when are they going to get tired of that?
Yeah.
And sure enough, they got tired of it. And and it's funny. It's odd to me they didn't, because the Hurley family tried to do a deal with them, and whatever happened didn't happen. And that really surprised me, because you think they would have just, okay, you guys can have it. We'll work out a deal. Just.
And I heard it was a fair offer, and they were, going after it at market value and everything, and then they just got the rug pulled out underneath them.
I don't know the inside story. I don't really want to know, but
Yeah.
it's too bad, because the company that owns them now, I mean, I know those people, and it's just a licensing deal.
Yeah.
And they'll want to take it cheap and deep and all over the place in every category, and so they'll have a little bit of triumph in the beginning while they sell a lot of stuff. But I think it's gonna obviously do harm to it at the core level, which is the part I care about. So,
But I just feel like, John, Kelly's kind of re-energized what you could do after surfing, or even during surfing, and starting a brand. And, is John going to go to X, Y, and Z brands, and is he going to stay in, within the industry or non-endemic? Like, where is he going to fall and where is he going to land? Or, it wouldn't be a bad thing if he just did something himself, But
he's landed on his boat.
Yeah.
Travis Rice's boat out in the middle of the Pacific Blue.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to find out like how it all unravels.
Well, fortunately for him, he got a nice nest egg too, because he made a lot, and so
Yeah.
hopefully he's kept all or most of it, and so he
I think
probably
so.
doesn't ever have to work again,
Yeah.
really. But
Yeah.
sure he will or wants to. At least
Kind of
surf.
like a Dane Reynolds.
Yeah.
Will you tell us about what your thoughts were, how you felt when Vulcan came out?
I was stoked because it was Wooly, and Wooly, I felt like I was sort of his mentor, and I advised him a lot in the beginning, and we used to, hang out quite a bit and share stories and startup stories and how do you do this, how do you do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I've always been proud of him and Vulcan.
Yeah.
And I think they've
That's
had a great brand. They did it their own way. They followed a little bit of everybody's playbook, but they had their own playbook, which I admire. A lot of people just outright copied us, but they did their own thing, and they ended up being, their timing was a little bit more relevant than us to do the surf, skate, snow thing. We were, kind of added skate and snow later on, kind of jerry-rigged and accented a pair of pliers, stuck it in there, but theirs was like a natural thing, because that was when they were born. It was a natural thing for them to do. So they had a good inroad into those other sports besides surfing, which they
tackled it right.
they activated it well.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
I've always admired the brand. I've admired him personally. Still one of my best friends. I don't see him very much anymore, but
You guys were, when we talked to Holbrook and had him on the show, and I was looking through photos, you guys had all the basic elements of it: snowboarding, fishing. I mean, even fishing, and like the whole waterman / skateboarding.
Yeah.
I mean, you had skateboarders on the team.
Yeah.
You had
we had a
Tony,
whole,
we had Hawk, we bought licensed
I
Hawk
know.
clothing.
Yeah.
We had the whole Hawk thing.
Yeah.
But
Oh
you
yeah,
did,
that was one of our many brands. Like I said, we had a lot of brands.
Yeah.
They're all dealing with the same space, though.
Yeah.
But
But you were already doing the things that people eventually like hung their hat on.
yeah,
we
had a whole range that was Viore before Vivori too. There's
Yeah.
a whole, we called it SD Comp, and Brian Lewis, who was an ex-volleyball player, world champion volleyball player, he was our guy, and we had great product. It was all like workout wear, fleece wear, very active fabrics, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Until
And-
Andy Mooney killed it.
He came in.
Just went out.
Quicksilver's not doing skate or anything. It's
Yeah,
just
so I mean,
surf. And
we were in VSTR, like I said, was early out or none. We had early Viore, we had early. So Alex Goes was a preemptor to the women's fashion brands that are out there now, like Sister and the other ones that Nadi does. I mean, we were always pursuing stuff that was kind of a little bit, like new territory, but some of them made it and some of them didn't last. And it was all dependent on the economy and sequences with the company and eras. Like this COVID thing is going to knock a lot of shit out.
Yeah.
God knows what, but I mean,
yeah, it's
Make
going to
it
knock
up.
stores out and it's going to knock brands out for sure.
yeah,
Or,
it's so sad.
it might not be instant, but as, production gets tighter, as, your line gets narrower, as you try to reinvent yourself.
Partners squabble.
Yeah.
Money runs out.
I mean, what do you think of, like Oak Tree and Altamont, like owning a lot of the industry, Like,
I can't speak for Altamont, but Oak Tree loves the brands.
Yeah.
I think they're in for the long run. I mean, they will eventually have some sort of an exit strategy, but their company's involved in a lot of what I call like sort of dumb things that aren't real sexy.
yeah.
And then they have these 9 great brands and they really love them.
Yeah.
And they come to all the parties, they go to all the events, and they really, I can't speak for like what COVID, how it massacres the company. Who knows? Because we don't really know. And their taste after that. But for right now, before COVID, they're so committed. They love the brands. They always talk about that, and they always give the employees reassurance. And
Yeah.
but who knows now? I mean, but I think that they've got the war chest to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. We have that going for us.
For sure.
A lot of these companies, they don't have a rainy day war chest, and if they run in liquidity, we know that from going bankrupt. The liquidity rides a fast horse, and so
Liquidity rides a fast horse.
and it can be, you think it's like, oh, we got plenty, and then all of a sudden you have none, and then you're in real trouble. So I just look out there, and I just I know this world. I know from my business, from my experience with going through that this is a much bigger deal than what we went through when we went bankrupt, and it's going to take a toll. But the good side of it, I always try to find the positive. I think there's going to be a nice reset. All the rents will come down. They're going to have to for all the shops. So all these new young entrepreneurs are going to want to, oh, I got something we can start, and so-and-so just went out of business, and that's kind of a great story. And so they start up. They can start cheaply. They can get into the stores cheaply. I think all the prices of everything's going to come down, and so there's going to be a lot of flourishing of new ideas and new young great things. And again, not just in our zone, but for everything. Food.
I think it's going to be a spark of specialty retail again.
I do
Those
too.
that survive, I think they're looking at who's winning right now and who's losing. And I think everybody has somebody that's been affected with like owning a small business or seeing doors close in their community. And I feel, and I'm praying that they'll reach out and rally and start supporting. Like, hey, you know what? I don't really need to go to that big box store because I'm going to go to this little guy down the street.
How about I don't need $1,000 purse or $1,000 pair of shoes or this and that. I wouldn't want to be the owner of South Coast Plaza with all those luxury brands in there. First of all, I'm going to the mall.
Yeah.
Second of all that stuff is high level. I mean, people are like a little bit like this. Like, be responsible to your own personal equity.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
and speaking of that, for sure, it's what makes you happy and being outdoors and being more lively. And if it's not buying that $1,000 purse and going on a 2-day trip and living life a little bit more and experiencing,
exactly right.
I think people are going to be spending their money a little bit different. I mean, you look at the success of, Starbucks or like just traveling or your phone, having that.
Well, that's why
satisfaction, quick, it's
in our
people
industry,
moving their money around.
In our industry, back to the beach.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there. Half the world's population lives, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And going to the mountains and riding and going to the beach and surfing and going to the skate parks and skating, all those things are like outdoor. They're family. They're wonderful things for kids. It's like that stuff is not going away. So you just have to survive in the business of that, and we're all going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, you look at surfing or the, like you said, the beach culture, and it is like a commodity. It's like, it's never really, it's going to see its ups and downs, but it's never going away.
No.
It's never going away.
And it certainly has done a jailbreak in this whole deal, right?
Yeah.
You see the beaches and like, oh my God, it's almost like
It's
shit.
been crazy.
Let's talk about Roxy and how that was. How did it come about? And
I just want to know, is it something that you like, hey, it might not make it, or holy crap, this is gonna outpace men's? Like, at what point do you?
Oh my God! Well, again, like you said something about first, so we've had a lot of firsts, and that was one of them. And during the period of when I told you men, women, Title IX, whatever, so we had this bug in our ear that maybe we should start a women's deal. And everybody, even inside the company, outside the company, advisors said, "Hey, no, you don't do that. You can't do men's and women's." And okay, well maybe. What about if we just do another brand then? I know you don't want us to do Quiksilver women's, but so Danny and I, again, Kwok and our brain trust at the time, Holbrook would have been part of that, Steve Kelly, there's a few others that sat around for weeks and weeks and weeks and talked about, this whole thing. And we built up back to, like, we did do a business plan on Roxy, at least a women's, like, okay, if we're going to do it, what would the product be? Where do we sell it? What would the price points be? How we market? We went through all that scenarios just to kind of like make sure we were astute before we actually went for it. And we decided to do a range of women's. And before that, about a year before that, Quiksilver Australia had done like a bikini line. And they were really raunchy, skinny type, butt crack bikinis. They're all black. And they did these unbelievable ads like, go back, lady, daddy, all these songs and real raw. And so we saw that and we went, well, we don't want to do that. But they're right. And we agreed that if we're going to do women's, we should start like we start with Quiksilver with board shorts, start in the water. That means women's bathing suits. Yeah. So we decided, okay, well, let's start working up a collection of women's bathing suits and launch it. And we'll call it Quiksilver. And then we have to figure out the name Quiksilver. I'm sorry, come up with a name. So we had this war room. We meet every day, and we had a big chalkboard, and we'd had all these applications for people in the company come give us a name suggestion, because we didn't want Quiksilver Femme, Quiksilver Chick, Quiksilver Girl, and that stuff. So we started coming up with all these amazing names, and one of the names that was up there from the very beginning was Roxy. We kept looking at it. Every day we talk some more about the range and the colors and the prints, and we started cobbling together a bikini line that was bikini. We had the Raisins brand, so we knew how to make bikinis, but we knew how to do those fabrics, the stretch fabrics, and the fits, and the templates, and the fittings, and the sizing, and all that kind of stuff. So we thought we should start with our Quiksilver prints, like war paint prints, Echo Beach prints. That'll be great because people will recognize those as having something to do with the Quiksilver company, even though it's a new brand. So that was our theory. So we started working on the product, then we'd meet, talk about the name, and we kept erasing stupid names and ones that we didn't like, and then we started getting down to a list of about 10, and then we put it to legal, like, what can we register? Yeah. And everybody kept saying Roxy's the best one on that chalkboard. I'm like looking at the chalkboard right now. And I kept resisting because it's also the name of my daughter. And we named our daughter Roxy after Alan Green, the founder of Quiksilver's daughter, Roxy. So we have two Roxys in our world. They were actually in town when our Roxy was born, and I asked him with all respect, do you mind if we love the name, but kind of in honor of you, because you founded the company and give me everything I have. And so can we name our daughter Roxy? Would you be, and they said, oh, God, that'd be great. So we have two Roxys in our world. So I was afraid because the Roxy's coming out of this world. They're going to all think, there's a CEO naming it after his daughter.
Yeah.
Going, oh, God, that's a bad look. So we put all the names to registration, and it all came back. And then the only name that we couldn't register is Roxy.
What?
It was owned by everybody else in the world except for us. So we're like, oh shit. So I told the guys, hey, we can't call it Roxy. We can't register it. So then we kept fighting, and the names got further and further, and the Roxy kept staying there. And I kept erasing it, and somebody would write it. It almost was like a jailbreak itself, the name, and it gained a life of its own. And then it kept having the meetings, and we'd send an email around. I think it was email, whenever we communicated, but we're having a Roxy meeting, because then all the right people would show up for the meeting. They know it would be about the women's line. I'm going, stop calling it Roxy. We're having a Roxy meeting. So finally I'm over it. So I go to my office, and Kwok comes in. And Kwok goes, we've just been meeting in the other room, and too bad for you, we're going to call it Roxy. That's the name. And it's not named after your daughter. It's named after the nightclub in LA. All the retro theaters across America are called Roxy. It's a great name. It's ROXY, two really strong letters and new graphics, and they'll resonate really well with millennials. and it's got a girl guy kind of thing. It's very sexy. It's a great name. And you go ROXY. You can put it straight. You can do it. You can. It's fantastic. And so that's what we've decided. So fuck off. And I go, all right. And then
how did you get the right?
As he's walking out my door, he goes, "And it's named after your daughter." And he slams the door. It was classic. So I get out there and I go, "Okay, guys. So we're gonna have to camouflage this because we can't register it." So if you look at any of the original Quiksilver or Roxy stuff, it's always Quiksilver, Roxy, and our Quiksilver logo. Because that's the only way how we could register it. Quiksilver Roxy. Not just Roxy, it's Quiksilver Roxy. And years later, when they started in Europe, they called it Roxy Life for the same reason, because Roxy was registered over there. So Australia was okay. Here was Quiksilver Roxy, Roxy Life over there. We started it, got it going. And then we started like Roxy, or Quiksilver Roxy, and slowly we started making the Quiksilver like go smaller, Roxy get bigger. And then our group in Turkey took the Quiksilver logo and they were fucking around with it one day, and they formed two of them to make the double heart logo.
Yes.
And came out with a t-shirt in Europe, and we were like, what's this? Where'd this come from?
The freaking heart.
Perfect. So we adopted that as the logo. So now we could get away
You
from
don't
our...
even have to call it Roxy.
Yeah, no.
But,
So now, and then it just, metamorphosis, whatever, moved into Roxy, what it is as we know it today. But it was, but it floundered around. It was like kind of bikinis and some dumb denim stuff and some little. No, it was really like sort of stupid sexist skirts out of polka dots and shit like that. And then the best story ever. We're on the beach at Pipeline. I'm with our head designer of Quiksilver, who's also on the Roxy project, Sonia Kasparian, who married an early Vulcan rep, San Diego rep. Oh God,
Jordan Meade?
No.
You know who I'm talking about. Really good surfer.
Lenny. No.
You can't.
Before.
Oh God.
San Diego rep?
Yeah, San Diego rep. I'll forget his name. Maybe they were married. But anyway, we're on the beach at Pipeline, and we're watching the Pipe Masters, and it's the Tom Carroll year where he did the slash.
Snap.
The snap heard around the world. We're all on the beach, and two things happen. We're sitting there, there's a huge crowd, beautiful blue day. The surf is amazing, scary, big, blah, blah, blah. And Tom comes up, and he's just like, and I didn't know he was like totally on it, but he just looked like he was endorphining about just going out on the surf. And he takes his surfboard, and I know you guys know how hard this is to do. He took the board, and he comes up to me, "So how are you guys doing?" The surf's there, so we're all looking at him. And he takes his board, and he goes, "So what's going on out there? Is it big?" And he's pushing the nose of his surfboard into the sand, and he goes about 2 feet into it. You know how hard that is to do?
Yeah.
That's how much, like, he just, and then the board's just standing there going, holy shit. He
on
is
it.
ready. And then he went out there and did that thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're sitting there, and this is early Roxy days, like I said, and this girl walks down the beach, and she's friggin' hot. She's like a Hapa Holly, small little girl, just beautiful body, dark skin, great breasts, tight butt. And she's in a bikini, a really small, tight, awesome bikini. But she's got a pair of Quiksilver board shorts on also.
Like slouch hanging
like
down.
size 22 or whatever they were, rolled up and just hugging up so you can see her bikini lines up here. The bikini's over her short, rolled up and just sexy as shit. And me and my designer, we looked at each other and we both at the same time went, that's it. Aha.
We got to make board shorts.
So we went home, and that's when she designed the Quiksilver, the Roxy board short. And then we also signed Lisa Anderson, and then the rest is history. Yeah. But that's where and how that happened.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's
because
amazing.
it didn't have a legitimate signature product, you know.
Yeah.
It was just girl stuff.
But just timing and being in the right place at the right time and not overthinking it. You're just like, hey, we're just rolling with it, and then boom, it just punches you in the face.
You know, you are a very smart businessman, right? But, you know, business doesn't always happen to the smartest people, right? And so many things have happened. You've had ups and downs, you know, triumphs and failures, right?
For sure.
But of the triumphs, there's so many things that had to line up that amplify the magnitude of your success, right?
Yeah.
Like
I'm
Kelly
not kidding you.
Slater.
It was just a really fortunate, good timing beginning and an unbelievable ride with all these great things that happened to us.
Yeah.
But you make things happen because we had this sincerity about what we were doing, and we had these instincts about what to do with like the riders and the crossing boat trip and let's go have a contest in G-Land. Let's open a retail store and we did a lot of very progressive things because we had the dough, which was great, and we had a good vision, and we had. And then other companies have done equally as great stuff because they had the same kind of like instincts in them, just to keep creating great stuff for your DNA,
Yeah.
And those are the companies that I admire the most. The guys that basically just forge their own thing. Like Veruca is one of the great ones of that, with the whole art thing and the fighting thing and all that.
Yeah.
So, but everybody, I admire when companies kind of like do their own destiny and come up with their own shit, not just copy a playbook somebody else had.
Yeah.
Because we never had one. We just kept doing this stuff. And it was like, oh, that's the fucking end of this. And then we do it, and it's like, okay, see? And now, we started women's, and they all started doing women's. And then we started a retail store. They all killed us, and they all started retail. And then we were the first guys to kind of get into e-commerce too, and they all just, gave us shit for that. Now everybody's into it. So you kind of have to take those first steps and take a little bit of a risk, whatever. And Magoat. That's his name. Our guy in San Diego. God, you guys know him. He's a Newport Beach, really good surfer.
Oh, are you talking Megara?
Megara!
Megara.
God, Megara. Yeah.
yeah.
So he was married to Sonia for a little while. And he had a wedding that was like, they had this like a castle, like England wedding where we all had to dress up. And
No
all
way.
It was
Megara.
medieval wedding.
Forever.
Yeah.
He's working
What's
for
his first name?
Pelagic.
What's his name?
Mike.
Mike McGarrell. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I saw him not too long ago. Shit. I remember his name right when I saw him. Just couldn't remember with you guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, if you hear me.
Yeah.
I love you, boy. Love you, brother.
Where have you been, bro?
Yeah, where you been? Oh God.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So Roxy still, it's not as big of a brand, I don't think, as it was before, but it definitely revolutionized the surf industry.
Yeah, well, it was close to $1 billion at its biggest, and then it sort of came down. We sort of purposely made it go down because it was in a lot of places that were like, oh God, especially like in Japan and stuff. They loved it and they put it everywhere in Japan. I mean, it's like, oh shit. So we had to clean up a lot of distribution.
Yeah.
And also it had all kinds of extension things that we could get away with in Roxy that we didn't feel we could get away with in Quiksilver, like beddings and sheets and stationery and
Luggage.
perfume and
Yeah.
oh God.
We had
Lisa is talking about how she still has a couple of those bottles of
Yeah.
perfume. Yeah.
God.
And the sex wax.
the sex.
Yeah.
Roxy sex wax.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just like Kelly with Quiksilver, I mean, Lisa really was with Roxy. She's
Yeah.
the maiden of honor that made it.
Yeah, I mean, when '90s, after that little dip at the beginning of that decade, the last 5 years, really turned on, and
The industry blew up.
You had Lisa, you had Kelly, you just brought out Roxy. They both cleaned house, and you guys.
And if you go back and look over, like, because I was doing this the other day for another reason, I was looking at all our annual reports, because every year we had to do an annual report, which most companies don't, so they don't have like a living record. Plus we have our book we made, but it goes all the way from 88 all the way to 15 when we went bankrupt. So I have an annual report. So every one of them is all about all the things we're doing that year and all the team riders and all the people who work for us. So it's a great historic. So you start looking at like our team riders. Our team throughout all those years were just amazing.
Yeah.
So many guys.
Icons and greatest athletes.
I mean, it's incredible. And so many employees we've had have gone on to work at other companies. So I feel like we've really been part of the whole ascent of surf culture and the industry, which makes me really proud, like I said earlier.
Yeah,
It's fun to see people and they're doing great at different jobs and the reps.
I came in with Barry Deffenbaugh. He helped me make a video, him and Jeff, because he was a Quiksilver guy, and he helped me come and I showed DK and Wooly, and down at the big building on Monrovia, and I turned the corner and Danny's office down there, and you're right next to him, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like the best brand ever,
Yeah.
and it was awesome, and I think I was 10 years maybe with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Well,
I gotta tell you about 2 run-ins we had.
you and me?
Yeah.
Oh, this guy, he's always gone running. He probably snaked
well.
you in the water.
Nope. It was one of the movie premieres. in the back of the warehouse.
Yeah.
And
Which
Shrinky
warehouse?
Dinks.
Oh God, the big one, the Vulcan, yeah, the Shrinky Dink.
Shrinky Dinks played, and at the end of the night, people were getting kicked
When we
out.
called the cops on our own party.
Called the cops.
Fuck.
And as everyone was getting kicked out, I was hammered.
Of course we were.
And I'm running around in the parking lot, kicking the beer bottles and breaking them.
Oh, nice.
And all of a sudden, I'm like kicking him, just being an asshole for no particular reason, just being a dumb drunk dude. I'm kicking him, and all of a sudden, I feel these two hands. What the fuck are you doing? And you turn me around, and I look, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Bob McNight. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And you were like, who the fuck are you? Get the fuck out of here. And Sandy Schwarzenbacher came up and goes, Bob, it's okay. It's Lyndon. Lyndon's from
That's cool.
He's a 35-year-old drunk acting like he's 15.
Oh my
No,
God.
dude, it was way long before
Well,
that.
only because at the end of that party, I'm the CEO of this freaking company.
Yeah,
that's being
I'm sure.
SWAT teams
It's
coming,
some idiot.
helicopters, remember? And they're arresting
Dude.
people. I'm going, I got it, and everybody's underage. And I'm
Yeah.
going, oh God, I'm going to be so.
And here's this asshole that you were just hospitable to, breaking
Remember
bottles
we
in
had
the
the
parking lot.
trampoline. What were you thinking about having a trampoline? Guys just falling over, hitting their heads, and I'm in the back, starting by making Mai Tais in the back for everybody, and then it just got. Remember, we were overwhelmed by the fucking party.
Yeah. And then the second time was, of course, a lot of people were doing it, but we were doing it in a big way. Gray marketing.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I remember, I can't remember if it was in the store or in the office, but you guys had, I think, caught me red-handed
You personally, or where you were going
for
from?
Huntington Surf and Sport,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Okay.
And I don't remember if it was like that big of a deal, but I felt like you guys just wanted to like make a point, you know. And I remember either I was at your office, or it was our office, and it was like, hey, you looked at me, you're like, we can't have this shit going on, and then you kind of winked, and then that was it.
Oh my God.
Lyndon always got a good drunk story.
Hey, at least I was hands on.
Because it was, like, how big was gray marketing, especially for
Unbelievable.
Roxy
I know.
during that time?
Yeah.
Like,
You
you're
could have
gonna
put-
laugh at this. That was like my thing at Huntington Surf and Sport, right?
Yeah.
I was the big.
You were in charge of it.
I was in charge of it, and I would literally be at Roxy at least once or twice a week to do walkthroughs.
Acquire.
Yeah, and I would, all the frilly dresses, all the rings and necklaces, and
Oh, good. You
Remember
got rid of
that?
a lot of inventory for us.
oh my gosh, it was crazy.
Yeah,
we
I
would.
remember that era, man. And everybody started complaining. We're going, oh God, what do we do about this shit? Same was when Costco got a hold of some of our stuff in the very beginning. That was another horror show. And
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to grow and not piss people off.
I know. And all along, we're trying to, like I told you, that thing about being beholden to the surf shops because they're our life bread. And then, so we've always had that, even though the life has changed around them too with e-commerce and and people, I don't know, opening up their own stores and all these things you kind of have to do if you want to grow with, power and do the right thing. But it pisses them off.
Yeah.
And then somehow you have to convince them, well, no, we're still really, if we're not strong in your store, you get rid of us. But if we keep coming up with the good goods and we're still strong in your store and we still market, we still have team, then why kick us out just because you're pissed? Kick us out when we don't perform.
Yeah.
And that's always been the standard. And
Don't take it
people
personal.
have, by the way.
Don't take it personal.
But they've been outliers.
But also give them some segmentation that will, allow them to have exclusivity and be like, hey, you don't need to carry all this.
Whatever you got to do is you got to do for them because they're our blood.
Yeah.
So we haven't really talked a lot about surfing, but what
That's
was
surfing? We've been talking about surfing the whole time.
what's your favorite place to go? Still,
God. Well, for
your favorite
sure,
surf
Land,
for
Tabby,
sure on
Bali,
surf trips,
Hawaii.
like my favorites have always been early days in Bali, and early exploration of like Uluwatu. And one time, a few of us paddled home from Uluwatu and surfed all the spots, and then jumped on the runway and went across and surfed it. So you could do that stuff back in those days.
Wow.
So those early Bali days where it was a lot of exploration, Phil Byrne, me, Jeff, whatever. And then we moved to G-Land. I think I was on the second or third trip to G-Land. And I was at the Bells contest. And Simon Anderson won the contest on his first thruster, so I'm standing next to him and Critterburn, and we're all rapping it out, and he's all happy and everything. And he goes, well, he's so low key. But so, Bub, where are you going next? And I said, I'm going to G-Land. He goes, oh shit. He goes, well, take my board and try it up in G-Land. He took the board off the car they just won the contest on, gave it to me to go to G-Land.
You're kidding me.
No. So we go up to G-Land.
Is that your first thruster you ever rode?
First thruster, yeah. And
Wow.
for sure the first thruster at G-Land, which was
Yeah.
kind of cool. But we went up there, so G-Land became a really special thing for all of us for a number of years. 'Cause I went probably 8 times or something. And then Sumatra, we moved up to the Mentawai. So,
Yeah.
and I've got 4 or 5 spots named after me. I named McFright's, I named eBay, I named
Roxy's.
we named Roxy's, obviously. We named
We had fun there.
We named Mutz. We named a meat locker. We have all these things that we named. So I still got my footprints on that. So I love those Mentawai trips where take my 8 or 12 guys and get on the boat. And I saw so many pictures and memories and filmed a lot of movies. Just all that stuff of the early Sumatra trips. So I love that.
Yeah.
I love Indonesia.
Well, the boat experience in that type of area where there's that many good waves,
Oh, my
and
God.
with the boys or whoever you're with,
You
In
pioneered
those
that.
days, you pulled up and there's nobody.
you can't.
Yeah.
And
you
there's
can't
not going to
beat
be
it.
anybody. It's just
Yeah.
like so pitching. Now you pull up and there might be 2, 3, 4, 10 boats. I mean,
Yeah, you can't beat.
Lances and
Yeah, it's obviously that's what happens when it's in every surf movie and every magazine.
yeah.
For,
And we were probably part of that problem.
Yeah.
I must admit.
There's still more places to
And then early
Go.
Tavarua days. I mean, Tavarua, we were the first group to go because
Yeah.
we helped Dave and Scott establish that place. We actually loaned them money in the very early days to get that thing going, and we were the first group. And it's another story where every year our marketing people of all the companies at Quiksilver get together in Torquay around the contest, and we had this thing called the 1% pool. All of us would contribute 1% out of our monies, of our sales, to this pool, and then about 5 of us would hang out in Torquay and we'd go down the coast and surf, and we'd spend the pool. We'd make it up in the car and somebody would take notes. We're going to play rabbit bar following with this, we're going to do this, we're going to whatever. So
Crowdfunding?
yeah, so one of the things we decided one year was let's go to, I convinced them because Dave came to my house and showed me the pictures of Tavarua and Cloudbreak and all that Fiji, they're surfing Fiji. And so when I came to our group, I said, let's have our next meeting in Fiji. And they're going, there's no surf in Fiji. I go, no, I saw some slides. And so I take our whole group
sick.
to Tavarua and we show up and of course it's dead fucking flat. As flat as any of us have ever seen it. There is not a ripple. We go across from where you go off the thing to go over there and it's just like a lake. Going 100 miles an hour on the pontoons to get us out there because there's no surf, not a ripple. We get out there and they're looking at me going, okay, Buzz, here we go. We told you there's no surf here. And we're going, oh, God.
Oh.
So and we have Bruce Raymond, me, Kwok. We have
Wooly.
Greeny, and we had the Paul Nielsen and Critterburn. And I mean, we had all these great people. So they're there and we decide, okay, well, this is going to, we better figure out stuff to do. So we had our 1% pool meeting, got through that. And then we start planning we had 2 or 3 days, and then we start planning the Tavarua Olympics. We're going to swim around the island, tag team, run around the island, paddle out to this, we had all this shit. And then we had a big gambling night. We took the board bags, which was boxes back in those days, and opened them up and made a craps table and a poker table. And so we're playing all these games. We had this big thing all planned for the morning. We're all hammered, and we all go to bed. We wake up, and it's
Pumping.
fucking bigger than I've ever seen it ever.
Wow.
I mean, it's wrapping around the island. And everything's like, holy shit. So we put our biggest boards in the pontoon boat and we start going around and we go out to Cloudbreak and it's like the Mark Healy size. Like, no way we're going out there. So we start going and we go over to Motu and we look at Namotu. We look at inside, the Malibu spot, the little right in there. We look at Tavarua, the right, the left. Nothing's rideable anywhere. So we have to so now it's too big. And then it settled down the next day and everything got perfect.
Wow.
So then we're surfing. We started surfing all the spots. We surfed Cloudbreak. We surfed Wilkes. We surfed the left up and out in front. We surfed the right. And now I'm the fucking hero of all heroes. And I'm just going, thank God.
You're
But
picking
we
everywhere
were
now.
the first group. So, and we loaned them money and we all did all that. And then just not too long ago, we're still in the Huntington Beach offices where Travis Matthew is now. And I'm in my office, and one day, Druku comes in with John, with Dave, and maybe Dylan, I can't remember, but there's like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. But they come in, they're all dressed in their Sulus, their things,
In your office?
and their skirts.
In Huntington?
They come in my office in Huntington, and they sit down and they start doing the kava thing, with a big bowl, and they give me this thing, this big. It looked like one of those hatchet things that they give the Fijians for war. It's like a warring instrument. It's what they use for swords, but it's one of those big deals, and it's on this stand, and it says "Fiki laki luki liki laka laka" or some word like that. And they put it down, and they do the kava, and they do the ceremony, bula, all that stuff, and they give me the kava, and they go, "You probably don't know why we're here." I go, "Well, I assume you just wanted to hang out with me for a minute and drink some kava, which is great." They go, "No, we're here because we've just made our last payment on the loan you made us 12 years ago in Tavarua. Because for a while we had papered the loan, we gave it to them that if they defaulted, we owned the island.
Yeah.
We owned the deal. So they paid us back, and they go, and this is, so we're here to celebrate, to thank you because you hung it and you never said a word. We just kept paying it. We never said a word to you. Kept chipping away at it with interest, so we paid it off. Today we made our final payment. I go, oh God,
What a great
love
little,
that. And they go, you probably don't know what this word means. And I go, well, obviously not. They go, this is in Fijian lore where two tribes or two warring tribes are fighting each other, and one tribe or group kicks the shit out of the other. And so they go home, and one tribe goes home and celebrate. The other tribe goes home and they go into a cave and they lick their wounds, and they practice, they train, they get better, and they get more prepared for battle. Then they come back and they kick ass. He goes, and that's what that word means, is like there is coming back from all this brutality, and that's what we went through with our island and all the finance, everything, and you brought us back from the dead, and so this thing's in your honor. And it's just like, oh my God, it was just like chicken skin, couldn't believe it, but
That's insane.
So anyway, so you asked me about my favorite surf spots.
Yeah.
Bali, Indo in general, Tavarua. And I used to do a lot of Mexico, high school, college. I love Mexico. We explored a lot of spots. They call that spot, just south of the border now. They call it something.
La Fonda or?
No, way up. The beach break.
Oh, Baja Malibu?
Baja Malibu. We were the first guys to surf Baja Malibu, 100%, because my friend from San Marino had a house there. Yeah. So we called it Jamie's because his name was Jamie. And we used to go there and surf it, and we'd never see anybody for
Black
years.
Beach with more offshore.
Oh my God. Yes. So we did a lot of that up and down there, so I love that zone still. But those would be my favorites. I still love surfing like the coast of Australia with friends and buddies.
Yeah.
But the real dream spots for me are Indo and Tavarua and Tahiti. We did a boat trip with Raymond one time. It was spectacular. We had a great trip.
Yeah. I mean, the Indies trader, you guys pretty much bought and toured and, went all around the world with
5 years we ran it around the world. Oh, my God.
Oh, my.
There's a lot of questions there that we didn't even ask.
We'll fire off some rapid.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that the way you guys supported not just your athletes and your local shops and brick and mortar, but supporting.
Well, I saw this thing about my first surf shop, and this is another big thing in my story, the influence. So, and I told this story when I got inducted to the Hall of Fame up there, whenever it was. But anyway, so because I got in there for culture, so I said this is a cultural thing for me. So when I was young and I first started surfing and going down to Newport, my family had a house down there. So, and I had longboards. My first board was a Harbor banana model, but that's irrelevant because I didn't like the longboard thing. But that was my first surfboard, so yes. But my real first surfboard was in the Russell shop, and I remember going into that store, and it affected me for the rest of my life. There was a little tiny store with these beautiful surfboards. I love Bob Russell. He was a friend of mine until he died, and I'd go in there, and it just was like, oh my God, this culture is so insane. And there's Don Craig, this buttoned up guy, tall, very handsome, but he's the guy, filling out, when people ordered boards, he was the guy filling out the forms and the guy's name and how the length and the width and all that shit. He was the businessman. He did all the collecting the money, and he was the guy. And then Paul Hustenstam, long blonde hair. First time I met him, he had this full on like hippie shirt on. He had corduroy pants, big bell bottoms, and at the bottom of the bell bottoms was like this sewn on lace crap with looked like some sort of tribal, thing, and he had a headband on, and he was the guy in the store just telling stories, and the kids would walk in and just tell him stories about South Africa, and I just got back from Peru, and all these, and I just sit there and like look at him, and fuck, I wanted to be Paul Husestam so bad. That guy, he and all the chicks would be in there, and Don's just selling the boards, doing all the business, and Paul's just spinning the stories, but he was the guy. So the combination was legit.
Yeah.
And that's why the Russell store was the spot in Newport.
So you're talking Don Craig, who is Old Guys Rule, right?
Don Craig, yeah. And later on, we got him into Rip Curl.
Curl,
That's where he
yeah.
really got his going. And then he did some other stuff. And then finally, Old Gals. But he's one of my best friends for life. I mean, there was a group then.
Love that
Paul,
guy.
me, Don Craig, Eddie Farwell, John Van Ornum, Billy Pells. There's a whole group in there that were just, it was an amazing time in Newport for really, really good surfers.
Yeah.
Not me. I was an okay surfer, but these guys were fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
They just didn't, there's no action back then. So they just surfed locally and they just all ripped. But the Russell shop was the epicenter for Newport. We'd hang out, and then later on in life, he becomes one of our first accounts, like I told you before. So we've had a great relationship ever since. But from him, I wanted to be him. And then real quick thereafter, with my small board, my shortish board, probably 8 foot or something, that I slept with and I loved it and I adorned it. It was a Russell. But then I switched to I don't want to be Paul anymore. I want to be Wayne Lynch.
Right?
So I was heavily influenced by the culture of the people and all that, and it really affected my life. So when like I said, the story to the Huntington Beach thing, I said, so that's, I'm sure the culture still affects young people to this day for sure, 100%, whether it's skate, snow, surf, music, art.
Yeah.
But influence is really important to young people's brains and their eyes, and they see it, so that's why we want to make sure that our influencers are, creative and good and good people and all that kind of stuff, because you don't have bad people influence them.
Right.
So that was my big point, that I was so influenced by Paul and then Wayne Lynch, and then later on people that were my mentors and all that. But it's huge in the surf world that we're all in. That kid that walks down on the pier to Huntington Beach and watches somebody surf, is something's hitting them that they might get, from day one, just hooked.
Yeah.
And that's what we
More
want.
often than not, you get hooked.
And we all did that in our own way.
I mean, we all work as hard as we can to support our family, but then to try to get as much surf time and play time as possible.
Yeah. Otherwise, why do we do it?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we just like talking, any other hobbies? Like, what do you golf?
Well, I golf. I like to golf. I'm not great at it. I was shooting in the mid 80s, but I love it. It's a real challenge, and I love playing with my friends, with Kelly, and Belly. Belly and I have this great thing, and then I played tennis when I was in high school, so I was a really good tennis player. I thought I might play at USC, but then I found out there's really nice girls here, so I don't have time for fucking tennis. And then I still wanted to keep surfing, so all my escape on the weekends, and that didn't match with tennis at all, so fuck that. And then when I had my son, I started, because I was also Little League, like I told you, so I saw him as being a Little League, so I coached Little League with him, and then he became a really good Little League player, and then Little League and Laguna Beach kind of goes into a hole between Little League and high school. So he switched to volleyball and started playing on the beach with his buddies, and so I went, well, I want to do that with him.
Yeah.
So we started playing volleyball. So volleyball is a big sport in my life now. So almost every weekend, you can find me. Anybody can find me at Emerald Bay, where the volleyball courts are, on the grass, beach chair setup, umbrella, cooler of Coors Lights, and we're playing volleyball and surfing on soft tops down in the corner. My son's there, and he's like the best, literally the best player on our beach.
Nice.
He went through all the club thing. He became the biggest star of Laguna Beach High School ever. Still has all the records. Went to SC, played volleyball there. So it's really fun and I of course want to play with him on his team. So lots of 4-man and all that. So we play a lot of volleyball now. So that would be tennis, volleyball, golf. I still like to dive. I've always carried a dive gun when I go on my trips. So when the surf's not good, I go spearfishing, and I love it. I have as much fun spearfishing as I do surfing, really. Yeah. So when the surf blows out, I have a whole other thing to do.
You get to eat your reward.
Yeah.
And I don't go real deep, but I love to spearfish and bring them on and eat them and have sushi and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Sounds good right now.
I know.
So that's
good.
my sort of my deal. And I snowboard. I'm a pretty good snowboarder actually. So I do on big trips, a lot of helicopter trips, and we just got back right before COVID. We had a trip where we had a big group, and we went to. I have a place in Whitefish. We went there and we snowboarded the mountain for a couple of days, and we went over the hill into Canada and went cat skiing over there, which was fantastic.
That's good.
And Muggs was with us. So
Yeah.
I told
Muggs.
Muggs to come by. By the way, I guess he
Yeah.
couldn't make it, but he's a really good friend of mine through op kicks on. So he came, and we all just had a ball.
Such a small world.
It was like the
Yeah.
last thing we all did that was really fun until
Yeah.
the shutdown. So we all talk about it. And
Yeah.
that,
Muggs texted me this morning asking if I had any wakeboards. He's all, I bought a boat. He's all, you got any awards? I'm like,
I'll have one more
yeah.
before we end this thing.
And I'm like, I don't, but I could probably still get you a deal.
He texted me about getting LibTech boards from behind the boats. I said,
Yeah.
I got bro codes, dude. Don't worry about that. And
Yeah.
and he's been sounding me on my boat because I have the boat he wanted, and he heard about me talking about it last year. I just got it last year, first year last year. I've had a boat before that, but this is a new X22, and it's got all the bells and whistles, and makes a wave about this big, and it can adjust from the left to the right in like 2 seconds, and it's awesome. So I was telling him
Nice.
all about the boat, and then
Do
I
that
went
in a lake or out in the ocean?
it's all lake.
Oh no.
Yeah, all lake. So and now we're foiling. My son's
Yeah.
really good on the foil. I'm not yet. I'm trying. It's
So you've
hard.
been doing
Yeah.
you've
a
been
little bit
Behind the boat?
Behind the boat, just
Yeah.
getting up and then trying to just get it to stabilization and not wiggling my eyebrow and you go down. You know,
It's, take your eye off the
it's
you're,
so hard. And my
Yeah.
son in like 2 hours up, grinding, let the rope go, pumping out. I mean, how does he do this?
Really?
It's
It's
weird
unbelievable.
because you got to lean forward,
Ugh.
but then like
It's so
you got-
hard.
It's
so
basically
sensitive.
like it's a combination like skateboarding and
Yeah.
It's really weird.
something
I
else.
was just
right?
trying
So
to
weird.
I'm just trying to with the rope get up because the rope really helps you get up and not have to worry about all the other shit. But you get up and then just get in it to where you rise and then you just hold and just rise and then kind of go like this a little bit and not fall.
Yeah.
That's so I'm up, I'm riding, I can go a couple hundred yards and then something happens and I fall. I'm not yet letting go of the rope.
The problem with I experience being a surfer is it's all back footed. So you get on it and you want to like kind of put like all the weight on the back and then you just flip.
You start
So you need to kind of you start bouncing. And it's a
then
nightmare.
you correct and then
It's
you
a pumping, bouncing this way though,
and
right?
that fucks your back
Yeah.
when you do a little bit of
Yeah.
that. You're like,
Yeah.
oh God, get me off this thing. But anyway, so back to the boat. So I told him all about my boat. And then I show up at his Fuck Cancer golf tournament. And he's got the exact boat I have there. I go, oh my God, where'd you get this, Muggs? Well, he told me I got it from a boat dealership and da-da-da-da-da. He goes, fuck, that's the exact boat I have, man. It's insane. So he went, oh shit. So then this year he wants to get a boat. So he wants that boat, but he couldn't quite afford it. So now he's got the one step down, which is equally great, that I helped him just get a really good deal on because I got it from Sammy, back to our surfing connection. Sammy Duvall owns the Curl.
Curl, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a world champion water skier jumper.
Yeah.
He's a 20-time world champion. And every time we go back there, we have dinner with his whole crew. And, of course, I feed his ego, which he's got a big one. And I go, hey, raise your hand if you're a world champion at anything. And nobody raised their hand except for him. And I go, oh, yeah, Sammy, I forgot. You're 20-time world. It's so funny. And we have this great thing. And he's always been popping off about the boat thing because I told him I've got a boat. I have a Centurion. It's up in my lake, and I love it. And he goes, no, when you really want to get serious about a good boat, you get a Mastercraft, dude.
Yeah.
All right. So this last year, before I got my boat, I called him up. Okay, Sammy, time to help me. And he took a boat that was $220,000 sticker price, and we got it for like $120,000.
Wow.
And so he really did come through, and it's
No kidding.
insane.
Yeah.
So
Boats.
because he's an ambassador for Mastercraft.
Yeah. Boats.
Still.
Boats are bank.
Oh my God, the
Yeah.
new ones are like they used to be pretty cheap.
Yeah. Not
God,
anymore.
now it's like fuck. You're like buying a Ferrari or something.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And mine is, I mean, there's what are they called? Ski nautiques that are more expensive. Then there's this new boat that came on. I can't remember the name, but they're sort of like matte gray, and they're all metal, and they make a bigger, better wave, but they're like $300,000.
So crazy.
Damn.
So
It's
crazy.
nuts.
Yeah. Rich man sport. I thought snowboarding
I
got
know.
expensive. Now it's like holy smokes. What do you think of like surfing in the Olympics?
I think it was going to be great.
Yeah.
You know, I
It
don't
was next year.
I don't think it, was going to be a great thing for business because just like with snowboarding, when it became part of the Olympics, it really didn't help the industry of snowboarding, but
Yeah.
it helped the whole mysteriousness of it and the breaking a lot of barriers about the athleticism of it and the people and the personalities and all that. So I was really looking forward to it. I was going from Board Riders as an ambassador for surf.
Yeah.
Because they thought that it won't get a lot of attention unless one of our American guys is winning or whatever.
Yeah.
And or if Kelly Slater was there and didn't make the team, so that was a miss. So they really thought that all the action for surfing is going to be at the beach in their little village they're going to build with surf culture and history and all the things they're going to do, and that I could show up and just be available for media, and tell stories like I do, talk about the history of the industry and the culture and the brands and women's and surfing and Duke Kahanamoku and all this stuff that I have a good background to tell, and that's how we'll get surfing in publicity for the Olympics. Otherwise, it's going to happen in small little surf. It's not going to be exciting, and unless an American's winning, they're not going to really televise it probably, except for recaps and all that.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I was really excited about going and being there.
Yep.
Even though it's going to be hot and probably a little bit miserable, but I was going to go and be the ambassador.
Well, hopefully they'll change their minds by the time of next year and build a wave pool
I know.
for it.
Yeah. And Todd Richards was going to be there also. He's a very good friend of mine, so we would have had a good time.
He's a Quiksilver guy too, right?
Yeah. Back to the wave pool, though, I can tell you, because from talking to Fernando a lot and being part of it and going through the submittals to Japan Olympics through our Japanese partner, and now the next one after Japan, whenever that happens, is in Europe, in Paris, that the wave pool companies have been pitching those cities for always, and their view has not differentiated one bit. Their view is that surfing is a nature sport. It's about being out of Mother Nature, and it's in environment. It's not about machinery and big pistons and keels and pumps and concrete, and so they don't like it.
Yeah.
That's why even though a pool was gonna be made in Tokyo, they said no. And even if a pool does get made, they still won't go there. I'm convinced of it. They want to present surfing in its proper light, and that's why Paris, who was being hit on by everybody, including through Pierre, Caperton, Biarritz, Hossegor, Landis, were all with their people pitching about, you must have the contest in our beach because we can do this and we have airports, all the pitch book. And the Olympics in Paris just went, no, it's going to be Chopu.
Yeah.
And they were like, whoa, there's a move.
Yeah.
Imagine how that'll put surfing in its best light.
Yeah.
In August or July, end of July,
Yeah.
Perfect time for Chopu.
Yeah.
Blue water. Unbelievable surf, high performance. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure they do their due diligence and follow the WSL and see the camera angles and see the footage and see how up close and personal you can be. It's crazy.
And then after that will be California. So that'll be, I think that the surf pools will have tremendous influence by the time it gets to California, as having it there or Huntington Beach or wherever they end up having it.
Lowers. High performance. No, I mean we talk about it. We feel like it will be good for the athletes for sure, because it'll elevate them as their journey and who they are, and
Sure.
they'll be able to get some other non-endemic sponsors and do whatever
definitely
Channel 7 morning news and ESPN whatever comes with being an Olympian, but hopefully it translates to
it'll definitely raise the profile of surfing and the esteem of it to me, and present it like, hey, this is a really great thing and it should be part of the Olympics.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I was excited. I think it would have been great. I'm so sorry for not only it, but Fernando, who worked really hard on it. It's a year later, so and all the athletes now, they got to train or retrain or requalify or whatever, and not just surfing, all the sports.
Yeah.
Imagine when you
hit your peak. Your peak is
worked your butt off for this
July,
moment,
and now you got to re-peak in another year.
But likewise, I feel sorry for all the high school kids that are off to college now. They didn't get to have a graduation. They don't.
Prom,
The
graduation.
campuses of colleges may not open, and then the college graduates, so there's no jobs. I mean, it's just like it's just
Domino
an
effect.
awful freaking thing we're all going through. It really is.
Another thing that I just thought of that's kind of baffling is like the act of the sport or participation of surfing is greater than it's ever been.
Yeah.
right?
Which is fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Except for when you want to go down and get away by yourself.
Yeah. But the aspirational trend or whatever, it isn't like surf brands aren't the trend right now.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I think so many people have just discovered that it's so much fun to surf.
Yeah.
Paddling in a wave and standing up, no matter what level you are, it's like game changing for people. You know, like they do it the first time and they're just smitten.
Yeah.
Then they want to get better. You know, and that takes a lifetime to get. You know, someone said the other day that in surfing you start off as a kook and you end as a kook. Because then when you get older, you can't paddle, you can't get up, you can't do anything.
Well, it's
so funny.
It's the most fun, hardest workout you'll ever have.
Yeah.
You know, it's no joke. Like, you don't even think about working out. You just think about like hyper focusing on catching a wave and improving, and all of a sudden, and then the next day you're like,
why am I
what
so
the
sore?
heck?
I know.
So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're getting that like
It's so
new
good for your
high of
back and your neck
learning,
and your
then you're
shoulders.
like, wait, I just paid some private instructor, you know, who knows how much for a workout in some gym.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Let's go outside, get some real
So
activity.
I think it's addictive, and it's nature, and it's wonderful, and it's the only sport where you're going and the medium is moving too.
Yeah.
When you think about it, so you're moving, everything's moving, and it's
Yeah.
just so you're making it up. It's all like whimsical, and you're it's like a concert or something. You're just doing your.
I just wish
solo.
somebody could make a wave storm domestically and put some jobs back into,
Ugh,
no
kidding.
It's crazy how many.
But somebody might.
Yeah.
It might come out of this.
Yeah.
And by the way, nobody wants to deal with China anymore, maybe. So you start
Yeah.
thinking about all that stuff, and who knows? Could
Yeah.
be.
I mean, you've seen, a lot of production when you first started domestically, and over the years it went overseas.
Oh,
And
God.
do you feel there's a chance of bringing some manufacturing back here on the apparel side?
I think that all of us are beholden to bringing as much as that back as we can.
Yeah.
And it means it's going to mean a little bit higher price points, but not that much higher. And I
Yeah.
think the customer will be less styles, less product, a little bit higher price, and less drops. So we have to do season. So stuff will stay in the ranges and on the shelves a little bit longer. So more sellability. Reset the prices a little bit higher just because bring it back, but not so much just exit China, exit China, but not so much leave that zone, because there's other great places to make product over there, like Taiwan and the Philippines and Indonesia and New Guinea, and everybody's learning. But I think the biggest
Turkey,
thing
South
that
America.
the biggest thing for me, and maybe this is political, maybe it's personal, whatever, but we've trained ourselves to get off the oil in the Middle East, which I think was game changing.
Yep.
Now we got to get off the China,
Yeah.
because it's coming out now. Whether all of it's true, some of it's true, whatever, but there certainly is a theory that a lot of this was caused by the communist side of China.
Yeah.
So, and we were doing this before COVID because David Tanner he just hated the whole tariff thing going on.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to migrate out of China to get out of the tariffs as much as we could and move it to some other place where the tariffs are more user friendly.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that. So we've gone from a huge level of production in China to much less already, and I think that'll continue with this whole thing. Yeah. And I really believe that Americans, if the truth comes out like I think it's going to come out, there might be a huge backlash about Chinese-made products and all the stuff coming out of there.
I think we've already started seeing.
Yeah.
And if it should, and if it doesn't, then I give up. But
It's not going to happen overnight,
No.
you listeners. So don't be, shying away from your favorite brands. It's going to take some time. It's
Yeah.
going to take a couple years. I feel like a minimum.
Well, we're all there. I mean, most brands are there, so we
Yeah.
keep going until we slowly but surely move off it as fast as we can. I say,
But in costs and like you said, tariffs and shipping costs, bringing back your global footprint and making it local, or at least more domestically, is a good thing as well.
I think that again is more opportunity for some youngsters and entrepreneurs to start some factories and not start making the heavy duty cut and sew stuff, but T-shirts for sure, and caps and bags and things that can be made local and can be painted on locally and curated and one of a kind, and all that kind of like stuff. I think will be the future. I think people are going to want to get a lot more personal with their products.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, through history, USA was an industrial nation, right? And as our civilization evolved and kind of got more civilized and wanting finer things in life, and producing things here costs more and more, and really just to do business here costs more and more, which made companies outsource their.
Oh, you had to.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you.
It's corporate taxes and state taxes. And
Here's what
we
happened
need
to us. We were all making all of our board shorts in Santa Ana and Costa Mesa and factories around there. We loved it. All very localized. Everything was made in America. We had this factory up in Santa Ana called, we just called it Sang, because the guy's name was Sang. He was from Vietnam. We call him Skinny Sang because he was very skinny. And he had probably, I don't know, maybe 60, 70 sewers in there. And we were doing all of our board short production for many years. And and then this whole green card thing came in. And one time they raided his factory. We had our whole summer production in there, our whole summer board short production in Skinny Sang's factory. They raided the factory. They did all the green card checks. They found one person in there, a Hispanic Mexican person, who had a fake green card. I mean, Skinny Sang checked him all the time. And he checked that guy's card, and it had a card. Didn't know that it was phony. It was a fake ID. They busted the factory. They took all of our production out into the parking lot, and they burned it.
What?
You're kidding me.
No. And that's when I went, okay, you know what? We're out.
Wow.
See,
We're out.
That's another aspect that we, as a country, government, need to figure out how to make it feasible.
I mean, back in the day when we started, remember that all the mills were in the South.
Yeah.
Big fabric mills.
Cotton
We bought
mills.
all of our fabric there.
I mean,
all
Levi's was here for 100 years.
all the
before they
findings,
moved overseas.
the trims, the thread, the labels. It was a huge industry. I used to go to this event every year called SWATM, Southwest Apparel Textile Manufacturers. Huge event with all the biggest guys, all the biggest companies in America. Fabric and brands all met. Big convention every year. And then it just started, diminishing. And then the next thing you know, it's just we do
now
not.
they're just shipping the cotton over.
Yeah,
and
we
then
do
they're
not
producing
have
it.
an industry anymore in America.
Yeah.
And it's so sad.
Yeah.
A little bit of Mexico, it's coming on a little bit, especially in like the shoes and the leather goods and all that. But if we could just sort of like figure out a way to get some of that stuff back here, I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
And but you have to pass. What the problem is Forever 21 and Zara and all these people and all the stuff in Target and Walmart. It's all cheap shit from China, and people get used to cheap prices. And then you go online. Typical customer, he's shopping online, and he goes board short, and 32 board shorts show up. Then he goes, oh, blue board short, and then 10 board shorts show up. And then they go cheapest, and then 3 show up. Buy. These people that shop like that, fair enough, but they're bypassing our whole system of making great product, of sourcing it, of having a team, supporting the environment, supporting the shops, being beholden to, charity work, to all the stuff that we do. Those people that buy that stuff for cheap price don't care or don't want to know about it, or they just want cheap price. Yeah. So that's in reality what we're competing with. So where do you go to get that? You go to China. I've been there. I've done factory tours where cheap labor, but we're all in that system where they check it every month for slave labor and all wages and all that stuff. But the second you leave, who knows what they do the next minute. Yeah. And I've been in factories where they're dyeing the red jackets and the river outside the factories turns red in the afternoon. Yeah. I mean, it's awful what goes on over there. Yeah. And if any of these cheap people that are buying cheap were to go over there and yet they're going, you should be sustainable, 100% sustainable, like what Outer Known's doing. Yeah. We'd love to be. You need to do this. You need to, give back. You need to, like Tom's, give one for, all these things that we're got to do. And yet what they got to do is they go buy cheap. Yeah. So it's like unless the consumer gets used to paying a little bit more and having it how they want it, more made locally-ish, and paying a little bit more and having it more sustainable, better fabrics, better make, then we're going to have to keep competing with Target, Walmart, Costco, places that sell a lot of apparel. Yeah. Kohl's. They're all cheap and deep and cheap and deep. Yeah. And so in reality, that's where the big volumes come from. Ours is still surf shops. Yeah. And, Zoomies and places like that where they're higher priced And then, but the e-commerce thing is a reality where all they care about is price.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts when they sit out there and sit on their soapbox and tell you what you got to do as a company, but they don't do that as a consumer.
Yeah. No, we need to retrain.
I know, and it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
People are getting more tuned into it and tuned into the world, and saving the planet and doing better things and this COVID, I think, is going to help reset all that too.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, just slowing things down. I mean, I'm not running around from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, where it's between work and kids' sports and school and, we're running around, but not nearly as much, and it's a little looser, and it's just like, wow, maybe we were spinning our wheels a little too hard for,
we all were. Probably surfing a little bit less. Like, need to reset that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I've been surfing a hell of a lot this pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been good, which helps.
Yeah. I got an 11-year-old that's just every day, let's go.
If it was flat and miserable, we all be just like, oh God, freaking out.
So what are you doing now with, like, your consulting or helping out?
Well, I don't know if it's really consulting, but I'm there as a aide to the senior managers of Quiksilver, board writers, all the brands, and I'm in the town halls and I'm helping communicate. So when David Tanner or anybody of our leads communicate something, I help then re-communicate it out in the right light. If there's rumble in the jungle, I can help squish some of that, either misinformation or mistruths. I go on the road and talk to the accounts with the reps so that they hear it from me if we've had a shipping problem or they didn't get their shipment of red board short, all that stuff, because they trust me. So I can go in there and I can tell them the good and the bad, the ugly, and I do. Yeah. And I tell them straight up because that's how I am. And there's believability. So the reps really enjoy when I go out with them and we do shop tours. And then I'm at the sales meetings, obviously, and I usually do some presentation of something historical and Quiksilver that they don't know about. Like, where did Echo Beach come from? Or where's the war paint? Where did those prints come from? And how about the crossing? Tell us about that. All those things which are historical that they don't know anything about, which is really confounds me because to me it's just inside my skin.
Yeah.
All the history, but when you have these people that have only been there for a year, they don't know anything.
Yeah. No.
So it's fun and challenging to educate them so they can go out and recreate the DNA also, and there's tremendous amounts of DNA in there.
So you touch base that you worked with Slater Pool. And OPEX, the camera. What other companies are you involved in? Optics. Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry. So my son is in a project where he's designing some stuff, and my daughters got some stuff. Roxy works for Roxy up here. So I'm involved in my kids' projects.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, your son did an arcade?
Quater. My son started Quater. And it was a belt company.
It's a belt company.
And then the belt company... Travis Matthew licensed the brand to do their belts and some other stuff, and then when Callaway bought Travis Matthew, they also bought Quater. So my son stopped at Quater, and now Quater is a big in-house line for Callaway where they're doing shoes, gloves, underwear, belts, and it's a big volume company now with Quater, so it's gonna be kind of fun.
Nice.
Nice. And
I'll
he's still
cut that
involved.
brain fart there.
And he's still like helping out.
No. He's over that, but he still consults with them a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's now got some other personal investments he's making. He's got a little project that's he's getting legs, and he's a chip off the old block. He's very much entrepreneurial. We're involved in this company called Surf City. I don't know if you heard that. There's a distillery around here. They make spirits, and then they're working on a spirits like a craft beer place where you go and enjoy the spirits and have food. It's up in Huntington Beach, kind of near Bellaterra, and in there they're gonna have those big giant silver things that they're making spirits, and they're also making seltzer drinks now with flavors like margarita, gin and tonic, Mai Tai,
Surf City Distilleries.
Surf City Distilleries.
Nice.
Cool.
And so it'll be a spot where all of us can use, like for our trade show, our sales meeting events over there, and hang out and drink and eat. And it's a big space. So he's working on that. He's part of that. Owns a little bit piece of that. and they got really busy during COVID with their making their hand sanitizer. They've done bazillions of that because spirits are made out of the alcohol. So they got involved with that. And they're pretty profound with that. But yeah, that's been a fun project, and he's got a couple of little things like that. He actually consults a guy in Corona del Mar who's in real estate, but they do like trailer parks and home storage, but out in the hinterland, all across like Alabama and Louisiana and all this stuff. So yeah, he's very busy. Cool. And my daughter's in the OpKicks thing, and so I help with them. But I go to Quiksilver probably when non-COVID 3 maybe 4 days a week, and I'm just there, and I walk the halls, and people stop and they talk and they ask me questions. They want to know stuff, and then they, have you heard about this? You heard about that? What? So I try to be a communicator for the board riders management group. Yeah. Where they don't have those guys because they feel intimidated to go, hey David, tell me about the so I'll tell them. Yeah. And they can come ask me because I don't give a shit. I'm just Bob McNight. Yeah. I'm not high and almighty. And so do that on the road. Go to Hawaii every season and hang out with the boys, and
you got a fucking great job there, bud.
we have the pipe house. Yeah. I have a big piece of property right behind Rocky Point Sunset up where the water tower is, Pomaloo up in there, with Eddie Rothman. So we have that. It's 100 acres up there, which we're trying to sell. But in the meantime, we do a little bit of farming up there and stuff like that. So I don't own a house over there. I've owned houses in like Kauai was my favorite spot on the Honolulu Bay. So had a couple houses there, but now I don't. I just have this big piece of land. So when I go over there, I just stay with Reef at the Pipe House or Turtle Bay Hilton, and then we do all the barbecues and team meetings. And we had a big going away party or retirement party for Belly this year. Yeah. And Kelly was there, so and Kelly sort of emceed it, and it was really, really fun. So we still do a lot of stuff like that that I'm involved in. And I feel like
you guys are the masters.
I feel like the old man in the sea, but I don't care. I just come and I have a good time. I don't flip hamburgers and shit like that, but I'm there just moving around and seeing everybody. And
Quiksilver is the master of taking an event and like not only utilizing it for marketing, but also for like business. And making sure that the right retailers are there and getting taken care of, so they go back and they have a good feeling and tell the story of Quiksilver. Right.
Well, and it's amazing how like our trade shows or the sales meetings or wherever where reps go, hey Bob, can you come over and tell Sally from Wave Riding Vehicles about the Roxy story? Yeah. Because she heard something different. And I tell her, I'm like, oh yeah, we heard it. And I go, no, here's this. I spend like a half an hour, whatever it takes to, because I feel like that's sort of like my tribal elder job now is to just tell people about the history, the roots, how this all started, our position in it, what all the other brands, my perspective on all the other brands. I'll just say exactly what I feel, Yeah. And they appreciate that because they know I'm not running for office. I'm not.
Well, you didn't run it from a book, and you weren't secondhand.
Exactly.
You were like, well, this is what really happened.
Yeah, you're one of the architects.
And most of them have it wrong. They come up with some like, where'd you hear that? Yeah. But this is what I do. I just go around and I tell the stories about how it really happened and the doily story and how the crossing got going in our early Mentawais days, and because it's all fascinating stuff. Yeah. And we have this archive room that you guys should come visit sometime. But you walk in there and everything on every wall, there's a story. So you go, oh, what about that? I go, oh, okay, and you got 15 minutes? I'll tell you. Yeah. So it's like that in my life, and I like it.
Yeah.
So it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we wanted you on the show, because I mean, it was great having Holbrook, obviously.
Sure.
Great guy, icon in the industry, but to have the main man behind Quiksilver USA talk about Quiksilver and everything about it.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of guys, almost so many stories.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible, like journey for sure. Yeah, the ups and downs, but the buying and helping out Europe, and then buying it here and going public, and Roxy and Snow, and all the athletes and all the accolades.
All the amazing people that worked with us for all the years, all the team riders, all the reps, and it's amazing. I mean, if I were to put all the names down, I probably will someday, but it's an incredible roster.
Yeah.
But not just
Have you-
incredible roster, but loyal roster.
Well, that's what I mean.
People
Yeah,
that
it's
have
just
been there for a long,
Do
long,
you
long
have
time.
a memoir yet or no? Have you wrote your memoir?
So we had this book that I was in charge of, but it was like I wanted everybody to like have their part and like tell their stories about stuff. So Danny Kwok's going to tell us his story, all the people. So it's really good. But lately, a lot of people have gotten a hold of me and gone, you should definitely do a book, whatever.
yeah.
Kind of like, ugh. But I'm thinking about it just because I think it would be, and I wouldn't want to be like the big ego, oh, I did this, I did that, but more like it's a story, lessons learned, maybe even like a little bit of a business angle. But did you read the what's his name, Finnegan, Barbarian Days?
No, I haven't.
So Barbarian Days is fantastic.
Okay.
So if I could get the book written by a guy like that really gets it and understands the spirit of surfing and tied to like his travels, because he went everywhere I did in the early days, and he was probably like one step before me, one step after me, because he talks about all the same people, early Tavarua days, camping on the island, early Bali days. He went to did the Azores and all that, which I did not, but places in Europe. He did Ocean Beach, which I did not, but Hawaii early days. This Barbarian book talks about the same guy early days in the South Shore. He was a badass then too. He used to steal boards, but so his story and his travels are very aligned to my whole deal. But I would like to turn it like surfing becomes a whole metaphor about life and stories and travel and what you learn and mentor, all this stuff. And so I sort of have these good ideas about it. I just need to find. And I just haven't taken the time to go find somebody and do it right.
Yeah, I'd focus on relationships and how they, started through surfing, and then how it turned into a business. I mean, because a lot of the same people you met just through surfing ended up, being business partners or, adversaries in the surfing industry or partners or friends or. Yeah.
Hey, we're getting on 4 hours.
Yeah, I love it.
Better go.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing story.
Any wrap-up questions?
Yeah.
You've given us some gems, but what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur?
Find something, product, a service, a whatever, something that you love, you're passionate about, total DNA in it, can't wait to do it, and do it as fast and hard as you can. And at first, whatever you have to rob, steal, whatever, get money from your parents, get money from your rich uncle, get money from a bank to however you want to finance it, but be passionate about it, get it. And if you have something like that, and there'll never be anything that can obstruct you, because you'll just work your way around it if you're that passionate about it. But you got to find something that you love to do, and then just go get it. And I always be careful of partners.
Yeah.
Because if it's your deal, do it, and you can bring partners in and up. But don't give them everything. Like, let them earn it over a little bit period of time, unless they're the guys paying for it or whatever. But I've seen so many partnerships blow up over squabbles, ego, money, spouses, whatever. So be passionate about it. Make sure you have a product you can really hang your hat on, that is like profound and great, and so that's what I'd say.
Yeah, and be cool.
Yeah.
And then you wake up every day and you're not really going to work ever. You're doing something you love.
Yeah.
Well, shoot.
If you can find it. And by the way, if you have something but you're not ready, you don't have the money, you don't have the wherewithal, you don't feel qualified, whatever, then go to work for a company that does that sort of thing and learn about it on their dime. Get a job. Have a job, go in there, and and then it might discourage you from doing your thing, but you'll for sure learn, and then you'll save a lot of money in the startup costs of whatever you're doing over here. So
Yeah, it'll give you direction whether you want to pursue it or maybe know that's not the route to go.
Get the behind the scenes info.
And even when people come there, I know they're not going to be there for really long, but because they're incubating something in their mind, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Getting a good person, hard work, and nothing lasts forever. So if they want to go off and pursue something else, I'm proud of them. I'm not like, God damn them.
Yeah.
That's just not me.
Yeah.
So that's the Wooly situation for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, Bob McKnight.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yabba dabba dooble.
COVID quarantine interview.
Oh my God.
Well,
Love it.
this has been an awesome interview. We've had a really good time.
It's my pleasure. I've gone through 3 beers. I probably could have gone through more. When I was talking so much, I couldn't drink and keep up with you guys.
Yeah, I would just say like thanks for everything you've done for the industry.
Yeah.
Thanks for sponsoring me through my youth.
Great. Well, when you package it all, don't make me look stupid. If there's something that sounds stupid, get rid of it. Or when I hesitate or can't remember a name and then remember the name.
I'll doctor it up.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
But that book, you guys should both read.
Yeah.
Barbarian Days.
Barbarian
I
Days
just wrote
by
it.
Finnegan, and he won a Pulitzer for it.
Wow.
And it's loosely tied to surfing, but more about life. And it's incredible. It's a must read for all of us.
I'm going to read it. Thank you, Bob McKnight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure, and thank you for
Thank you,
hospitality.
listeners.
All right.
I gotta go pee before I go.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please give us a 5-star rating and spread the word.
Special thanks to our good friends James Williams for our awesome artwork and Justin Reynolds for the amazing music.
Welcome to the Late Night with Chalky podcast.